Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the H3 Podcast live every Friday at twitch.tv/H3 Productions, except sometimes it's not on Friday. Thank you to Omaha Steaks, Lyft, MeUndies, and Honey for sponsoring this episode of the H3 Podcast. If you guys have any questions for us or our guest today, give us a ring at 818-214-8504. Next week, there's a lot of, there's some housekeeping stuff to get to. So just keep chilling.
Keep that house.
Keep chilling. Sometimes it surprises me how much housekeeping we have.
Right.
But anyway, Michael's here. I'm going to do like an official intro, but I just want to say we have some house. Just keep chilling. You're doing good. Doing great. Next week, I'm very excited to say that we have Brendan Green coming on to the podcast, a.k.a. Player Unknown, the creator of the massive, successful PUBG. He's the director, designer, producer, a.k.a. the new Notch.
Right.
Very excited. That episode will be at an irregular time, Wednesday the 20th at 3 p.m. Leave your questions for him on the subreddit. I'll be throwing that up here after this live broadcast. I forgot to put it up. Today's guest is a saucy fellow, a Vsauce fellow, if you will. We all know him and we all love him. He's Michael, and you've recently ascended from a science guy to a living meme status, I would say. I think the Vsauce memes are in high demand as far as the meme economy is concerned. He just came out with a second season of YouTube Red series. Minefield was just released, and I had an excellent time watching it. And he's got one of the best channels on YouTube, Vsauce. Very honored and thrilled to introduce once again to the show, Michael.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah,
Great
nice
to be
to have you
back.
back. Yeah.
After being here for the groundbreaking of this very studio,
Right.
I'm back.
It's very cool. You were our first ever guest in the studio.
In the studio.
It's a lot
Your
different
first
now.
ever was
Yeah.
PewDiePie?
Right. It was
Yeah.
outside of the office.
And that was like in some warehouse.
Right. He had like an Airbnb in LA. He was shooting Scare PewDiePie.
Right. Season 2?
Yeah.
I don't know if that. Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
season 2.
Wow.
And we all know how that one ended. A little
Great season.
Yeah, one of my favorites. I was in it, by the way. Did you know that?
No kidding. Just like
did-
how you were in Minefield where like it didn't work.
Yeah.
And so it's
Right.
kind of like, thanks for trying.
It was actually much worse than that.
Were
I
you
was in a
scared?
full episode. I co-starred, me and Hila both, in an entire episode.
No kidding.
It was a whole fucking thing. I got electrocuted, bro.
For real.
Yes.
Technically, for those science fans out there watching, electrocuted means killed.
Are you
If
serious?
you didn't die, you weren't electrocuted. You
So
were shocked.
Shocked.
I'm sure there's some other word,
I
but yeah,
didn't know that.
electrocuted. Look it up. You have the
No,
power
I believe you.
now.
I believe you. I'm just. I've said.
I'm not
this-
saying that I know.
That shocks me.
Every word. Electrifying knowledge.
Electrocuted.
Can I put my mouth right on the mic? It feels kind of good.
No, yeah. I prefer. I basically the more in, the better it sounds. Harder this.
A lot of famous mouths have been right up next to these.
That's true.
There's every. That was a really passionate and tender kiss.
Have you ever seen me kiss?
I'm all of a sudden jealous of your wife.
You should be.
Yeah, there's all kinds of hepatitis. It's a petri dish. It's basically new forms of STDs being transmitted to your tongue right now.
Glad to be a part of history.
Cheers to that.
Mo Bradbury was using
Mo
that mic.
Bradbury was, yeah. That's one set of lips you may not.
This very
wanna
mic,
do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you keep this mic here, and you guys use the same mics every time?
yeah. Well,
We've switched around, actually.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
what?
Well, I've been there before.
I don't
I've
want.
been here.
This is my mic. I don't know
He
what
doesn't.
Hila's been up to.
Ethan doesn't move.
I don't let anyone use this mic.
Where was Mo?
He was
this
right
mic?
there.
Yeah.
We bleached it though when he was done.
Thank you.
I bleached it like halfway through the show. I gave him a squirt of
Just
Clorox.
he was like, protect me from myself.
Yeah, I was like, sorry, buddy. How's the show changed? I mean, last time you were here, we had like a tape. It was kind of a funky setup, right?
I think you were, yeah, I was on
You
that
are you're on
couch,
the
I think,
yeah.
which was very comfortable. Now I do feel kind of tall with this chair being up high, but I'm afraid to move it because then the mic will have to move and
you
it'll
can
just.
move
Oh,
it.
you can. The mic
I
is
can do
very.
whatever I want.
Yeah.
The mic, the mic, but what if I don't move it right? What if I get too low?
No, don't
No,
worry.
don't
I
worry
just
about
want to be
it.
efficient.
You can really just manhandle this thing.
Okay.
Well, how are you? How have you been? I mean, how the hell is life since we last spoke with you?
It's great, it's been fantastic. I just got back from the Brain Candy Fall Tour, and that is You know, it's a slog. You know, every day you got a show. Well, 6 days a
Right.
week, and then you get one day off. We were able to perform in
Wow.
Kansas City, my hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Gave shout outs to some teachers that made a difference in my life
Oh
who
my
were there in the
God.
audience, and got to have my grandmothers come
Wow.
who couldn't really make it very far away from Kansas City. So having the show there,
That must have been really cool.
it was really cool.
That is very cool. You do it so how long do these tours last? Because you says you do it 6 times a week at once a day, 6 times a week. So how long is that duration?
Well, it could be 4 weeks like
Wow.
this fall one, but in the spring we did 9.
Holy
Wow.
No
frick.
break.
How,
Yeah.
how
Oh my
I mean
God.
how level with me, Michael. How awful is it?
It's not, because here's the thing. Adam Savage has been traveling and touring for years. He
Right.
knows how to make it nice.
Oh.
So we've got star coaches, right? We've got rooms in the back of these buses. We drive overnight.
Right.
You wake up whenever you want to because you don't have to worry about the show until like 6 p.m.
Mm.
So you've got a day to just lay in bed, go to the dressing room. I can do a lot of work. I can still make my regular calls, and I can visit the cities. I'm away from home. I'm away from my cats. I'm away from my wife. I'm away from the Vsauce office, and
Right.
that's a drag.
Yeah.
Right.
But meeting people in person is really important. You know, you can watch a YouTube video and engage with me that way, but when you meet in person or when you turn your whole evening into just coming to a live show, it's a bigger part of your life. I think
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
remember it longer.
We've been to your show. It
Yeah,
was
we saw
really
it.
fun.
It was a
Well, you guys were in
blast.
Costa Mesa, right?
It was in Santa Barbara.
Barbara.
Santa Barbara.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it was a total
Yeah.
blast. I remember. It's a total blast. It's a total
It's
romp.
really fun.
The kids, they love the goddamn balls. That's what I
The
remember.
balls. Well, they're free.
Yeah, there's free balls. I mean, guys,
Free balls.
you're selling tickets to brain candy. What you should really be selling is free balls.
Free balls. Come. Well, they're not free. You have to buy a ticket.
It's
Yeah.
free. It's lots of balls, and then underneath in parentheses, brain candy.
Brain candy.
Yeah,
Pay for balls.
yeah. Pay for the balls.
Yeah.
Stay for the candy. Yeah, I found that to be true as well. I mean, when you meet a fan, that personal connection or realizing that these are like real people watching your.
Oh man, and the
Your
best
content.
thing is that especially because I'm touring with Adam Savage, a lot of makers come to the shows. People who have a craft, people who love to make things, and they make us stuff. They make us
Wow.
wire sculptures. A guy made these Muppet type puppets of Adam and I that are just
Oh my God.
phenomenal. I mean, it's not like I tried. It's like I'm a professional here. Normally this would have probably been thousands of dollars, and I just made it because I love
Wow.
making puppets, and now I have a puppet of myself, which
So you're
It's very
collecting
good.
treasures.
collect treasures.
That's powerful.
yeah.
How do you get nervous before the shows? I mean, this is a serious production, and there's a lot of people in the audience. It's a whole thing. They come out. It's a night. They come out. They watch you. I mean, you've done a lot by now, but walk me through the process of prepping yourself for that. And now, after doing it for so long, does the nerves still affect you? How is it?
No, the nerves don't affect me now. They did
Wow.
for that first show because I had never done this. I had no idea what the show was going to be like. We'd run through a few rehearsals with no one in the audience.
Right.
But luckily, Adam and I are both pretty good at improvising. If something goes wrong, if something needs to change, we can just do that on the spot. And you start to get really familiar with it. And then I've got a background of doing live performance ever since, high school, giving informative speeches and that kind of stuff in forensics and debate. And so I got the butterflies out. Like, I feel comfortable. If something goes wrong, I can fix it. But yeah.
I feel like I would be shitting my pants every fucking night.
Yeah.
We've toyed with the idea of doing a live tour, and I think I would have a breakdown.
Well,
It's
you
too
might.
much stress.
You might, but not forever. You
I'd
get
forever,
over it.
forever.
Not forever. No, you would learn.
Every night would be the worst night of my life. I feel like.
I disagree.
Okay,
You guys
yeah.
should do it.
I like your
would-
encouragement.
Yeah, you'll be super nervous the first, the second, the third, but then you'll start to be like, man, I can't wait for this. I can't wait.
Right. So it's a fun thing for you now. You go on stage, you do your thing, you look forward to it.
It's really fun. I mean, it's the same show every night, but not really because there is no script. And so
Right.
we're always tweaking things. Before the show, we'll meet and I'll say, I think that joke would land better if we did this, or I think we should change the order, or I think you should explain that part, and then I'll explain this part, and then you can pretend like you don't understand, and then I'll pretend I don't understand. And it's always changing.
That's pretty fun.
And it's new to every audience.
Right.
I've seen the show, or I'm in it, but every night it's a new city and it's new people who are like hearing and seeing these things for the first time.
You had said that you guys are both really good at improv, and so when something goes wrong, you feel comfortable picking up the pieces. What's the most dramatic thing that's gone wrong for you guys on stage?
I fall a lot on
Really?
stage.
You face plant?
Not a face plant. There was one night, it was in Canada, I believe it was in London, Ontario, where we didn't have the right party fog juice. Normally we use propylene glycol, I believe, and instead we had this oil-based thing, which meant that a layer of oil formed on everything on stage, including the floor.
Man.
So... I dance in the show, as you've seen.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even during dancing. It was I was just walking, carrying this bottle of acetone, and boom, slip, hit the ground. It was so bad. I needed to discuss it during the Q&A in the middle of the show because the audience was like,
worried.
Are you okay? And also, maybe that had to have been scripted and planned because no way the show would have gone on. That's not even the worst, though. The worst
You
was...
ate shit pretty hard. It sounds like.
Yeah. And I'm a really jumpy person, so when I fall, I don't just kind of, fall. I go,
right.
And then I play it up because I feel like maybe that'll be more entertaining, and then everyone thinks I'm really hurt. Another time I fell, and this was the same show with the oily floor. I fall, and I feel while I'm falling, I think, you know what? I can save this if I start break dancing. Maybe that's what I meant to do.
Right.
But there was a stagehand in the way, and I roll into him because, of course, the floor's covered in oil. I can't break dance. I can't break dance anyway. But I also can't even get friction with the ground, so I just slide into him.
Right.
And
that sounds
shirt
like a
was
killer
ruined.
show.
That shirt, we couldn't get the oil out of it, so.
Was that a favorite shirt of yours?
It was a really good stage shirt.
That's
and
a
so
shame.
London, Ontario, you guys were the last ones.
Damn.
Do
to see
people
that.
upload those fails to YouTube, or is it not really?
I haven't seen any, but I'm sure they.
Wait,
I see them on social.
Michael, Dan and Ian, can you guys look up if there's Michael eating shit on stage? I want to get that up
check
here
it
if
out.
we have that.
I know there's some just dancing and not falling clips out there.
Oh my God, I hope that's up there. I mean, that sounds like a hell of a show, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, they were very lucky.
Yeah, they're very fortunate people. My next question for you is that I'm fascinated by people who do a lot of stuff.
Fascinating.
Thanks, Dan. Jeez, I can't get a break. People make fun of me because I say fascinating a lot.
I found it really fascinating.
Fascinating.
Every time I say fascinating, Dan hits the soundboard to mock me.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
I can't even say it. Do I get passes? Should I get some
You
fascinating
can say
passes?
it's the F word.
The F word. But the guests won't know what I'm talking about. Michael's just confused right now. He has no idea what's going on. All right, I'm fascinated. Give me a break, Dan. Give me a fucking pass on this one. By showmen or productive professionals who manage so many things in their lives. Because I find myself always overloaded, and I get flustered and lose focus when I have too much shit to do. So you're doing Minefield, Vsauce, Brain Candy, the Curiosity Box. How do you manage all these things at once and keep yourself sane and focused?
I don't. I'm going insane. No, I think what it is it's about a great team to help you. You know, I'm involved with the Curiosity Box and help curate things, but there's a different team that packs them, deals with orders, deals with getting samples, and I love what I'm doing. That's kind of a cliche answer, but when I wake up in the morning, I want to continue reading about rigid rotational dynamics, because I just want to, and it happens to also be my job. But if I couldn't do that, I'd be kind of annoyed. So I'm really fortunate that my job happens to be what I do anyway when I have free time. But that also means that do I ever have free time?
Yeah,
I have to take a break
exactly.
and say, okay, I'm going to stop learning and reading.
Do you feel like you have free time? Do you feel like you need free time? Does being so busy all the time, how does that affect your life?
It doesn't affect my life because my life was already, even before YouTube, the same thing. I just didn't have anyone to listen to what I had discovered, right? I would talk out loud to myself. But then with YouTube around, I could just turn who I was into
A show.
right? And to get bigger than that, to do a live show, to do the Curiosity Box, to do Mindfield, you have to have other people help. And so
How many people work with you and supporting you?
So, gosh, I mean, there were more than a dozen people on Mindfield.
Wow.
And we had a number of actual psychologists helping with pre-production, because the first season was classic experiments. It was stuff that I knew because I had an undergraduate degree in it. And I was like, let's just replicate all of these famous experiments. We know the result to expect. And we kind of, we know what we want to do. But for season 2, I wanted to go into what are psychologists doing today and how are they doing it? So we had to bring in people who were career psychologists who could then reach out to different universities and say, what are you doing? What can we help you do? We've got money, we've got resources, we've got, in some cases, cameras. Like an episode that isn't out yet, maybe it will be when you're watching this, was about the placebo effect and how we're enchanted by neuroscience, that we believe it can do more than maybe it really can. And having Mindfield there as a documentary crew made people believe that the study was more powerful than it was. Because, of course, it was a placebo study. But it must be something if all these people are here with cameras.
Yeah.
If this, if Michael Stevens is here, it must work. And that was all part of planting that suggestion in their mind that they're going to get better.
That's very cool. I'm looking forward to there's another 6 episodes coming on Mindfield, or what's the deal? There were 6 out already.
I think there are 3 more. There's 8 total, and so far 5 have come out. So over the next 3 weeks, the next 3 will come out.
So I wanted to talk about the season 2 Mindfield, actually, because you definitely, it seems, kicked it up a notch from season 1, and I appreciate you sacrificing your own body and mind as guinea pig. You dabbled in it a little bit season 1 with the deprivation,
Yeah.
but I loved the truth serum and I loved the ayahuasca trip. Tell me about how you guys came up with that idea, and I basically I just want to hear, like, what was the experience like? Let me start with the ayahuasca, because I feel like on the show I wanted to hear more about how was that experience for you,
Right?
Because it was a weird, trippy thing. Like, it's one thing to take a psychedelic and hang out with your friends. It's another thing to hang out in like a jungle while some robed man chants while you trip balls
And be recorded for
Yes.
the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like
That's a weird way to do a psychedelic.
Yes.
Hey guys, rather than doing it in like my dorm room, I'm going to do it in the middle of nowhere where no one has cell connection, where the only way to get back to a city is by taking a boat ride for hours
you're
and
implying
flying.
there was a measure of paranoia.
There was a lot of fear, and I don't
Right.
think, we didn't record a lot of that, but I was really nervous as the date approached because I couldn't say no. I could. I made it very clear that, like, look, if we're going to do this, we all need to agree that up until the moment I put it to my lips, I can say no. And no one's going to be mad that we went all the way out there.
Right.
Because I didn't plan on not doing it, but I wanted...
You want to reserve the
To have
right.
the
I didn't want to
option.
feel forced.
Yeah.
And so I said, look, when it comes to the decision process and what we do and how it works, that hierarchy goes me, then the shaman, and then everyone else.
I love that the
The
shaman
shaman.
Yeah.
supersedes.
If the shaman thinks that we need to have the lights off, if the shaman thinks that we
Right.
need to
Okay.
stop recording,
Right.
and I can't respond, you listen to the shaman.
Yeah.
I know he's not on payroll. I know YouTube didn't approve him as a director, but
Did he get EP credits?
I don't know what he got. But he was a great guy. He was also our boat captain.
Oh, he's
Wow.
he moonlights.
Yeah. Yeah, he moonlights with the ayahuasca.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But tell me about that experience, because first of all, was it your first psychedelic experience?
As far as my mother knows, yes, of course it
Okay.
was.
All right.
Yeah.
She's not watching this. This isn't your mother's show.
And so it was, man, I think the initial emotion I had before the ceremony was aggravation.
Really?
Yeah, because I was nervous, but I couldn't do it my way.
What was your way?
My way would have been to not have all the cameras there, to not have to make a show.
Right.
And so this is what's going through my mind. I'm like hanging out in the hut, waiting for the shaman and his assistants to come and get me. But I can't just get picked up and then taken to the ceremony. We have to like do multiple angles and takes.
The experience
Oh,
couldn't be
yeah.
authentic.
It was totally authentic, but I had a job to do during it.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the hard part, that I couldn't just completely surrender myself to the experience as me. I had to be Michael, the host of Mindfield.
Right.
I had to listen to direction like, ooh, you know what? We have to do that again because like this light was in the wrong place, or we need to get the coverage of the shot of you entering. And I'm fine doing that, but I had bigger things on my mind. And
like
so,
colors and shapes.
Well, not even then yet, because I hadn't even taken it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't even know what kind of colors and shapes are they going to be. It was frightening. Okay, so then we've got a crew of people, right? We've got something like 8 people there, and they've got microphones all around. And usually you do this in the complete darkness. That makes for a terrible show. So we had to have lights installed, which made me really self-conscious.
Right.
Because not only am I being watched and surrounded by people,
You're expected to perform, which I can only imagine would be such an awful feeling while you're tripping balls.
right. Okay, so expected to perform was another concern I had. So I also made it clear that if I do nothing but lay there catatonically for 8 hours, you're all going to be happy. Agreed?
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have any responsibility or obligation because you're in a different state of mind.
Yeah.
And I can perform. That's my career. That's my job. I'm used to that in this state of mind.
Right.
If I get hangry or grumpy or happy, I can still do those jobs. But I wasn't familiar with what it was like to be in the state of mind that DMT creates. So luckily, we had all that figured out, and it wasn't that big of an issue. But I felt really unhappy that I had to have all these eyes on me. And then as the drug started to take the effect, I felt feelings of guilt. Because
Really?
here I am, I was paid to fly to Peru to take drugs. And only I got to take them. No one else on the crew had signed the right insurance paperwork or would probably be able to do their job properly if they had also taken it.
That
So
would have been interesting, though.
it could have been interesting, maybe season 3.
The boom
whole
guys
crew
yanked
is
out.
fine.
Yeah. I mean, the shaman drank some. You know.
Okay.
I
God
didn't know
bless
he
him.
would do that. But when he took a dose, I was like,
Were you a little concerned when you saw the shaman dip in?
yeah, because I was thinking, wait, I thought you were
You're
the
my
one watching
guide.
over me.
You're my guide, bro.
Yeah. But let me tell you this: when the effects got stronger and stronger, my feelings of fear and guilt and the self-awareness of all the cameras on me, that every motion I did was going to be caught, and if I sat up, they'd have to reposition cameras, and I'd be aware of that. And what if it didn't work? What if they needed to give me some kind of direction and I wasn't in the right state of mind? I eventually realized, hey, as annoying as it is to have all these cameras around, if we didn't have the cameras here, there wouldn't be a show. And I'm doing this for the audience. I'm doing this for Robin, the researcher who was there. It's not about me. All of these concerns about, hey guys, stop walking, that noise is frustrating, or stop asking for the coverage shots. That's my job. It's for everyone else. This is not for me. And starting to think about, I need to just give. Robin, come do the EEG scan. I'm ready for that. I didn't want to, but then I realized by allowing you to do it, I'm giving. It's not about me and what I want. It's about what everyone's here for. So that's a lesson I took
That's interesting.
from that afterwards.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How?
That's interesting because it makes you think about when something is your hobby and then becomes your job. It's kind of like it's not so much about you anymore.
Yeah,
That is kind of profound.
Yeah.
exactly.
Did you felt that on a level that you hadn't realized before?
Yeah, I mean, I literally envisioned myself as this like waterfall that's just offering its water to the world. And I'm like, I remember sitting there going, at some point, Robin has to come over and give me a series of questions. He's got to put this thing on my head and measure the electrical activity there. And I could say no. And I planned on saying no until I realized the way to get rid of all that anxiety was to just say, let's do this. I am a vessel for your research.
Were you concerned from the beginning that you weren't going to be able to perform that?
No, I wasn't really concerned because I figured even if it all completely is messed up and we don't get everything right, that in and of itself is a story.
Whatever happens is good.
Whatever happens is good.
Well, how did the experience match up to your expectation? Let's just assume that you've taken other psychedelics. Let's just imagine a world where you have. How would that hypothetically compare to your experience?
Well, it's different for every single person. but anxiety was my biggest fear because once you've drank the ayahuasca, you're on the ride. Like you can't take the antidote,
Right.
you know? And the first ceremony was really pleasant and quite low in its dosage. The second one, within 20 minutes, I was like, oh, no.
You took twice as much, as I recall. You took like a third of a cup the first time, and then 3/4 of a cup.
That's right. Yeah. And it happened so fast, I had lost control. I no longer was like observing what was happening. Things were just happening to me.
Right.
And my heart started racing.
Right.
We had a medical doctor there, which normally you don't because it's not dangerous physically. But YouTube requested that we have a doctor there.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so but here's the thing. My heart was going, it was literally beating very fast. there's a moment where I touch my chest and I'm like, yep, it's really happening. But then I thought, how do I let the doctor know? Because I can't think. No, this is not how I normally feel. Is it weird if I just say, hey, help?
Right. They'd be like, what?
How are they going to interpret that?
Yeah.
And so I thought maybe I'll just ask for water, Maybe that will tether me back down to reality because someone will have to bring me water, and that's a really mundane normal thing.
I've been I feel like I've been in that headspace of trying to you're stuck between the ethereal world and the physical world and trying to make sense of being in another place, and it's frustrating. I hate that feeling.
And it's frustrating because I was probably most consumed not by anxiety, but by the feeling of how do I relay and describe what's happening to me later, because that's what always annoyed me about discussions of psychedelic experiences is that it all felt really vague and hard to empathize
Abstract.
with. And now I know why. It's like describing colors to someone who's never seen. It's a completely different state of mind.
Right.
And so
every psychedelic experience I've had, I've hated it. I don't know why. Would you say it doesn't sound like you quite hated it, but it seems like it was marked with some negative feelings.
Exactly.
In my experience, I always have a lot of. I think my problem is I'm too anchored. I never really let go, and you're always resisting the urge to just kind of float off, and you're trying to hold on to the earth as you're floating to the sky.
I think getting over that resistance is a big part of what psychedelics teach you.
Right.
I didn't break from that. But I'm aware now of its existence. I know what it feels like. Robin Carhart Harris from Imperial College London, who came with me, didn't say I had a bad trip. He describes it as a challenging trip.
Yeah.
I
like that.
I'm still glad that I did it, but I'm not I got to do it again. And I think that's fine. That's exactly fine.
Yeah. I think if you're so that eager to return to that state of mind, you're probably having some trouble dealing with the actual physical world. If you're so eager to embark out there
and
on
leave.
a daily basis,
I don't know, but I know that there's a bonus clip where we spoke to a woman who took psilocybin as part of this
what is
coping
that?
with
Oh,
death.
that's like mushrooms. Yeah.
She took a pill through a study at NYU, and she worked with these researchers for months, and they crafted a pill just for her based on her weight, based on her past. They knew what dosage to give her, and I think she felt incredibly safe. She wasn't in the middle of this brand new place.
This was therapy for coping with death?
Yeah,
death.
Because she had been diagnosed with cancer. And to confront your own mortality is obviously frightening. But they were experimenting with how psychedelics can help you deal with those feelings. And it was a phenomenal experience for her. She tells a story of seeing a table with all of her family and friends, but also death is at the table. And she realized, death's invited, of course. And ever since, this happened years ago, ever since she's felt much better. She's felt healthier, and she only took that one pill. It's not like she has to take one every month. It's one dose.
That's awesome. I think psychedelics and drugs like that really have a lot of value to our society. It's just It's a shame that they get stigmatized. And I think that stigma itself is what contributes to a lot of the negative feelings you have when you take it.
I think so too, yeah, because you start to feel like, oh my gosh.
I'm doing something wrong or
I'm
dangerous.
doing something wrong.
Yeah.
In fact, I had this thought that cracked me up during that second ceremony where I was like, you know what? When the shaman lights the candle and says that it's over, first of all, it's very comforting because he knows how long these experiences last. When he lights that candle, it's proof to me that the effects are only going to wear down from now. I mean, it takes a very long time, but they when you're going down, you start to regain control. Anyway, I'm thinking, once he lights the candle and like the crew's done, the first thing I'm going to say is, I can't believe I'm going to have to tell my mom I did this. And that made me crack up because it sounded like such a funny thing. I didn't wind up saying it because it just felt like a joke when the experience was really dramatic and poignant. But I forgot what I was about to say.
You were talking about the stigma, how it makes the experience.
Oh yeah, I think that if I was part of the Shipibo indigenous tribe where this is a medicine prescribed all the time, I would not have felt the same kind of. Am I a bad person?
Right.
I mean, this is illegal in the country that I live, and I should feel bad that I'm doing this. This is a behavior that only bad people do.
Right.
And you have that social baggage on you.
Yeah. It's interesting. I heard about a study that doctors are starting to use MDMA to treat PTSD. So they give you a dose of MDMA, which is ecstasy in the pure form, and they sit you down, and I guess it makes you feel more comfortable opening up, and you feel more comfortable with the emotions that you're dealing with. And so all these drugs that I think it's a shame. I really think it's a shame, this war on drugs, what it's done. I genuinely believe that people don't abuse drugs unless there's something else going on. Like, people don't just all of a sudden become addicted to drugs. I think all drugs should be legal. And people should decide what they want to do. And if there's education and support to help people navigate those waters, that we would be a healthier, better society.
And the word drugs, what does it mean? Because it
sounds
catches
bad.
So many things.
Yeah.
Everything from heroin to DMT
to Tylenol,
to caffeine to Tylenol, right? And so we have done a disservice to both ourselves and to innovation and knowledge by saying, ooh, you're going to study psychedelics?
Right.
We really only want to fund that if you're going to be studying the bad side of them.
Right.
And only recently has that started to break apart. And we have this now renaissance of investigation of psychedelics. Imperial College London has this whole psychedelics research group. And that's what Robin was from, who came with us. And so we're starting to be able to understand more about the mind, because you cannot have a complete theory of the mind if you avoid or ignore something that it's capable of.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean,
it's crazy that, we've tried some, obviously, by now, from the way we're talking about it. And it's weird to see what your mind is capable of.
So
I wouldn't want to do it on like a daily or weekly we don't do anything now, but we've tried it. And I think the experience of trying something like that is really interesting, just to learn about your own body.
People are, and there's all these scares, like you take acid once and you lose your mind. I knew a guy who took acid and fucking jumped off a roof, or he never came back from the trip. Like, these are I swear to God, these are all just old wives' tales that are just designed to spook you. I don't think that really happens.
Yeah, when I was a kid,
maybe very, very, very rarely.
Right. Well, two things. One, when I was a kid, I read the story about the guy who took LSD, thought he was an orange, and locked himself in a closet because he was afraid of being juiced. And you think, oh my gosh, how terrifying. And to be fair, this is a significant decision. This isn't like, hey, what you should do is invest in gold.
Right.
You should. I don't think anyone should. I don't have any advice or I'm not going to recommend to anyone what they do. It's their choice, or maybe the choice a medical professional should make. But the fact that, Gila, you're like, well, as you guys can tell, like, maybe we have done some psychedelics. That caginess we have to have about it.
Yeah, I feel bad, like, even talking about it, because then people are going to say, oh, you guys are promoting drug use.
I'm not promoting it. I don't endorse it, and I don't recommend it.
I just feel like you should be able to talk about it. And
right.
And I think, like you said, it's a big decision to make for yourself. And I don't think that it needs to be caged by law or stigma. I think that there should be open dialogue, there should be conversation, and like go to a place like places in Europe where drugs are legal and they'll test it for purity for you so that you don't take something awful and die.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
Making
how is
it
that
illegal
not worse?
means that some shady stuff can happen
It means
to
that,
the drugs.
that shady, bad people are going to own the market. It's not going to be regulated, and there's not going to be you're not going to feel like there's anyone there who can help you or advise you through the experience.
Something I found fascinating was that when I spoke with Robin...
Hit him with the damn fascinating.
Fascinating. I asked Robin, the head of the psychedelics research group at Imperial College London. I'm like, so what's your experience with psychedelics?
Right. Assuming she's done it.
Robin,
Hey.
Robin like Batman and Robin.
Right.
He goes, well, I don't talk about that. I was like,
what? It's
what?
like, dude.
Why? And he's like, well, you know, my grandmother might see
That's
this.
such a cop-out.
And I'm saying that is I was going to say fascinating. I'm like, that is...
You see, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's like drugs.
It's the F word.
I've got all the stigma around that.
What a great example of that
Yeah.
stigma. That your job is to research psychedelics, and you can't say that you've ever experienced them. What other scientist does that? Oh, I study gorillas. Oh, have you ever seen any? Oh, no.
Yeah.
I would never look at a gorilla.
Right.
I talk to people who have looked at them.
Yeah.
Or imagine an astronomer who's like, yeah, I've been studying the stars and the motions of the planets. I've never looked up.
Yeah.
Don't judge me. I don't look
Yeah.
up. I talk to others who have, and until we break that barrier, I think we're really missing out on a big part of the human mind.
It's such a beautiful paradox, I think, of this guy. I love it. Even on a personal level, he's like, no, I don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, let's roll to a break. Quick thank you to our sponsors, and we will be right back with your boy, Saucy Vsauce. Thank you to Omaha Steaks for sponsoring this episode of the H3 Podcast. Listen, Omaha Steaks is a product that I am fully behind. You know that scene in Pulp Fiction where they open this mystery chest and it's like glowing orange? Well, that's basically what they send you. I received my package full of fillets, sirloins, pork chops, and kielbasa's. It arrives in this chest with ice, and you open it, it's like glowing. It's like I'm enlightened when I open this thing. It's unbelievable. Let me tell you about Omaha Steaks. For $49.99, you can get my family gift pack. When you go to their website and search H3 in the search bar, that's 75% off. This is high quality meats, my friends, for $49.99. Listen to what you get. 2 fillets of the mignons. I knew a guy who once said fillet mignons.
He was Australian.
He was Australian. Apparently that's what they call it in Australia. But I didn't know that. I'm sitting at a restaurant with this guy. He goes, I'll have a fillet mignon. I'm like, people aren't that dumb. If you're that uncultured, you don't deserve a filet mignon. Mignon. I just thought it was funny. Fillet mignon. You get 2 fillet mignons. You get 2 top sirloins, 2 boneless pork chops, 4 boneless chicken breasts, 4 kielbasa sausages. Hold on, let me catch my breath. 4 burgers, 4 potato au gratins.
My favorites.
Yeah, these are actually incredible.
I don't care about the meat, the potato.
Hila, the meat is incredible. The potatoes are good. I'm not going to take that away from you. It's a huge potato ball that's like, it's like mashed potato in a ball. Yeah. It's like, what genius made this? You get 4 of those. 4 caramel apple tartlets. 1 Omaha Steaks seasoning pack. And plus, in addition, because they love you and because I love you, you get 4 additional kielbasas. Say it with me because it's a lot of fun to say. Kielbasa sausages, absolutely free on top of that. You get all of that for $49.99. That's 75% off by going to omahasteaks.com and in the search bar type H3 and you'll find my family gift pack. Omaha's got over 500 gourmet gift ideas. They got great steak experiences at home, the most flavorful, tender, aged beef, plus seafood, poultry, pork, veal, lamb, veggies, dessert, appetizers, pasta, soup, seasoning. They're basically just listing everything. They've got it all, in short. Convenient and quick shopping, guys. It's for those on your list. It's aged for 21 days to unlock the full flavors of the cuts, hand trimmed, vacuum sealed, my friends.
Very cool.
You are not going to want to miss this H3 family pack. So head on over to omahasteaks.com, enter my code H3 in the search bar, and get 75% savings. Unheard of. You're going to love this. I guarantee it. Thank you, Omaha. Appreciate you and your steaks. Thank you to Lyft for sponsoring this episode of the H3 Podcast. Lyft knows that their drivers is what keeps them moving. Literally. So they do everything they can to make sure their drivers are happy on every trip. It's a simple formula. Happy drivers mean happy passengers. Maybe that's why 9 out of 10 Lyft drivers get a perfect 5-star rating. I don't know that they can take credit for that. I think the drivers are just nice. But I guess it's a nice environment, right? I mean, I don't know that you can take credit for. I mean, people helping people, right? You're gonna meet interesting people. You can have chat. If you want to be a writer, you want to be an artist, a creative, hop in a Lyft and drive someone around. You can learn a lot of things. People can give you 5 stars. You can be happy about yourself. Give you confidence. Okay, but forget all that because you can earn hundreds of dollars a week plus tips. Want to earn more money? Drive more. It's never been easier to give yourself a raise. Lyft was the first rideshare platform with tipping built right in, okay? And so because getting tips shouldn't depend on your passenger having a crumpled bill in his pocket. And let me just say, to their credit, I completely agree.
I never have cash on me.
I prefer riding Lyft because I can tip through the app, and I don't carry cash. Hello, I only carry Bitcoin.
Yeah, right.
Does Lyft accept Bitcoin? I don't understand cryptocurrency. You can't use it. No, I don't get it. Okay. You can't use it. How is it a currency? It's like the monopoly money. You keep 100% of the tips and they add up quick as heck, my friends. Drivers have been paid over $200 million since this feature was first introduced. Express Pay lets you get paid almost instantly, except waiting for weeks and hope maybe not even getting paid at all by these scumbag employers out there. You don't got to deal with that when you drive for Lyft. Lyft has taken the guesswork out of pickups. The new AMP device uses color coding to help passengers find their drivers, guys. So listen up. Join the ride-sharing company that believes in treating its people better. Go to lyft.com/H3 today, and you will get a $500 new driver bonus. That's 500 clams for a new driver bonus. That's Lyft, lyft.com/H3, lyft.com/H3. Limited time only, and terms do apply. So thank you to Lyft for sponsoring us. If you're in the market if you're trying to pick up some money, consider supporting us with Lyft. And if you want some dang meats, please consider supporting us with Omaha Steaks. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get back into the sauce. And we're back. H3 Podcast with Vsauce. Did you ever consider puking out the ayahuasca after you drank it? Or were you like, can I do that?
You don't have time. As soon as it's entered your body, you can try to vomit it up, but some DMT's already entered your bloodstream.
But you would reduce the effect if you just gagged.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it would have to be the case,
probably
right?
Be a rough start.
Vomiting and diarrhea or not diarrhea, but lots of pooping, could be solid, I'm assuming, is a big part of the ayahuasca experience. And it's
how nice.
Something they're prepared for. I had a puke bucket there. There are bathrooms there that you can be taken to.
Was that captured on film?
Never happened.
Never happened.
I never even felt like I had an upset stomach.
Interesting.
And I've heard of shaman who encourage that. It's part of the process of kind of purifying yourself. And there could be a legitimate medical reason that it's good in that you can flush out harmful bacteria if you really are having some intestinal problems. But it never happened to me. Some shaman will make you puke by either disorienting you with their song or giving you a tobacco drink, but that can be pretty dangerous. I mean, we did this as safely as possible. Right. Again, we had a medical doctor there.
Right. YouTube don't play.
Yeah, YouTube was and so I think that's a huge lesson to learn. This was not a recreational, let's have fun and be weird kind of a moment. This was a let's work with a university. Let's work with a hospital and let's learn.
What was the scientific purpose of the I know you put the electrode things on your head to measure your brain waves. Was that the purpose, or was it just to go through this experience as a scientist of sorts and to try to describe it?
It was both, because I wanted to see if I could help talk about that state of mind as someone who's a professional science communicator, but at the same time, no study had been done that was that environmentally valid, literally done in the Amazon with those songs in those languages in that location. They're usually done in these very clinical hospital environments where you're in a white room and you're in a big city.
Right.
So we were able to look at that and help the researchers learn what variables to worry about, what kind of technology works. Obviously, it's not an experiment. It's not like, oh, we had a whole sample size and a control group. It's just one person. You've got an N of one. So we're not pretending. Yeah, we're not pretending that this is some experiment. It was more of a kind of pilot study to see what is it like to go to these retreats and try to collect data. Can we find anything interesting? Is this particular EEG helmet going to give us enough data, or is it too noisy and all of that? So we learned a lot in that case.
I felt a little bit cock-teased by that experience because you guys were saying in the show, you did it the first time you took a small dose, the second time you took a larger dose, and you guys were saying, I almost had an ego death.
I know.
I was almost there.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get there.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, great. Well, I can't wait for the third one when he
gets there.
I know. And then I was like, wait, there's only 3 minutes left.
I know.
What happened?
That's what happens when you are doing it for real and you don't know what the result's going to be. You know, we have a lot
Did you consider doing it again, though? Because you could have taken more.
I could have decided, because a few hours in that second ceremony, I realized, oh, you know what? I can't get back to that ceiling that I was afraid of and turned away from. I could have gotten up and asked for more. This can happen during a ceremony, but I didn't. And there are other things that you'll see in future episodes where, like, I tried to get TMS on my head to disrupt and arrest my speech. We could not find Broca's area. They couldn't make it happen. That's just what happens, you know? If we'd spent, a whole week trying.
Was the large dose you took what is normally enough to have someone have like a full ego loss?
I think it's different person to person.
Okay.
All right, based on your weight and
depends on your weight, depends on your mindset, depends on the setting. A full cup is pretty strong, but the point of ayahuasca is not to experience ego death. It's different person to person. Like, for a lot of people, a small dose, it's just to kind of like, I don't know, whatever effect you think you want from it, right? It's not about you're doing well if you're taking more. Not at all. Not at all.
You continued down the rabbit hole of strange drugs later in the season, and you experimented with the truth serum to see if an interrogator who gives you this truth serum can actually get information out of you. I was actually surprised by how effective, in my opinion, it was. Like, the interrogation technique she used was very clever, right? Like, it's not what you expect. Like, in the movies, you have like a Bond villain who's like, and you just get brainwashed and say everything. But the way she approached it was very clever.
Yeah, it was clever and it was really fun. Like, I just felt like I am the most funny person ever right now. And I'm just going to give you material.
Interesting.
That's funny.
And she didn't play bad cop. And I think at one point I asked her to. I was like, hey, could you stop being so nice?
Right.
I don't remember that. I don't remember much after, I think, when she asked me who the president was.
They kept giving you more. They're like, give him a little bit. You're like, I'm pretty fucked up. They're like, give him some more. I was like, damn. They pumped you full of that shit.
There's a funny moment where the guy
just
was
passed
like,
out.
This is more than I'm not going to give any more. Yeah. And at that point, I was like, I could take more. But I don't remember it. That was the scary part. It was that they could have told me I had said anything, and I wouldn't know if they were wrong or not.
Right.
Well, that's pretty scary.
And the thing about midazolam, which is the truth serum that I was administered, is that there's an antidote for it that works quite quickly.
Really?
And so all of a sudden, I just come to, and I'm
like, no way.
Yeah.
I've always wondered if that was possible.
It was weird. It was like
just to go from completely fucked to sober. I find that
I didn't know how much time had passed. I just immediately was like, hey,
wow,
what happened? And I was forming memories again all of a sudden.
Huh?
Yeah.
But the way that she got the game was that you had information you're trying to conceal from her, and she was trying to get it. Like, for example, that you had a sister, I guess, was one of them.
Yeah, and my sister's name.
Your sister's name. So her approach wasn't to be like, tell me your sister's name, like you would see in a movie. It's what, like, she would wait till you're super smashed and be like, so your sister Jessica is a dentist for a living? And then you would be like, yeah, that's what
exactly.
Like, it's really clever.
It was really tricky. You had to really be sharp, and you had to not just be living in the moment to keep the information.
They basically just dull your brain to the point of you're just agreeable.
Well, yeah, all your inhibitions are gone.
Yeah.
You're not holding anything back because you're just not aware of what you should be holding back. And you're just living in that exact moment where there's nothing else to be concerned about.
Right. It's like the puppy dog mode. I'll keep thinking about a little puppy. He's on truth serum all the time. What do you think after doing that? Do you think that serum is an effective way to get information from someone?
I think that it is an effective way to get information. I don't think it's an ethical way.
Right.
And I should, with the caveat that I'm not sure it's effective because studies that were real studies, not just Michael's experience, have shown that you get some pretty unreliable stuff. People will say all kinds of lies as well.
Sure. Did you lie at all during it?
No, I didn't really lie. I told obvious jokes, but I didn't like.
I can't see lying in that state of mind, but I think it's just unreliable.
It was hard to construct a lie that I knew was a lie, but I maybe could have, or someone, as has been shown in prior studies, they can just confabulate all kinds of made up stuff.
Just like a dreamlike state where you're just following some random thread in your head.
There's also the ethical dilemma of, can a person be forced to confess against themselves?
Sure.
Right? If what you have to do is torture someone or administer drugs intravenously to get the truth, is that really the way we want to get the truth?
Right.
What's more important? And ever since the days of torture, we've been hey, you cannot self-incriminate. If we have to resort to that, it's not worth it. And there's something kind of beautiful about that.
Yeah, totally. Oh, it's completely unethical. I just found it's really interesting to see, because truth serum always seems like something that's just ridiculous. Like, how could that possibly exist?
Yeah.
But that real world application of it was like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, truth serum is a terrible name because it makes it seem like some fictional sci-fi drug that finds the truth.
Right.
In reality, it just makes it harder to conceal and lie.
Right, exactly. I think the most interesting thing that you confess to while on the truth serum is that you prefer making Vsauce videos to Minefield.
Yep,
that slipped right out.
I had no memory of that ever happening, and it wasn't until I was one of our writers was like driving me home months later, and he was like, "Oh," because I wasn't supposed to know what I'd said because they wanted me to watch the footage back on camera, and he spilled.
Did you watch
beans.
the whole thing back?
Watch the whole thing back. Yeah. And
you were really genuine. The interrogator's like, Michael, do you prefer doing Vsauce or Minefield? And you're like, you were just very passionately in favor of Vsauce.
Yeah,
in the show.
And I felt bad because if I hadn't have been under the effects of midazolam, I would have given a more diplomatic answer. Yeah. But I think. The truth should be out there. Now, I love making Minefield, but as you can imagine, Minefield has a deadline. It's got schedules. It's got all of this.
It's a lot more complicated.
Vsauce comes out when it comes out, when I'm ready.
I thought it was a great moment because it really exemplified how unguarded you were.
Yeah, totally.
Was there anything else in that interrogation? You don't have to tell me what it was, but I was curious. Was there anything else you said during that where you were like, oh, fuck, I can't believe I said that?
No.
Okay.
No. And so when I saw the original cut, because again, I'm not editing Minefield episodes, but I'm watching and we're screening episodes. So I'll see one like 4 times throughout the editing process. But initially,
you give notes. You don't involved in the editing process.
Oh, I give a bunch of notes,
and then they
I'm
come
not
back
sitting
with
there doing the
looking
edit.
over the shoulder. Of the editor.
But I remember watching the first cut and going, we got to include more of the truth serum experience. And so I got all the footage, watched all of it, and made notes. And I was like, we got to include all of this. Like, even if it's not scientific data, it's still interesting.
Yeah.
So the stuff that we cut, because you have to cut for time. That's the bummer. Like, the whole thing lasted 40 minutes. Well,
why do they care about time?
I think audiences care about time because if you show the whole experience, all of a sudden the whole episode becomes 3 hours long. So we have bonus clips this season, which allow us to show more. Like when it came to false confessions, I was like, we have to include a raw, uncut false confession.
Right.
Because even though there's a whole lot of stuff that we can cut for time, like just the pleasantries, the hellos, the conversations that go nowhere, I want everyone to be able to see beginning to end how it happens. How you get a regular person to confess to a crime they never committed.
I'm horrified by that.
Yeah.
And well, I think a lot of people have seen the documentary Making of Murder.
Yep.
And it wasn't the main guy's story that disturbed me. Honestly, it was his cousin.
Yeah, Brandon, I believe.
Yeah, Brandon, who went to prison. He just got out this year. He was thrown out by a federal judge. He was in prison for 12 years in the prime of his life. You see him now. He's like this grizzled
adult,
like shell of a person who lost the prime of his life. The guy is mentally handicapped. I mean, you can tell throughout. He's like a simpleton. He's like Lenny from Mike.
Should not have been interrogated.
He shouldn't. And so these cops are grilling him for hours and hours and hours. Having been through that yourself and having produced it. I mean, how do these police or people who do this? How do they justify it to themselves? Because certainly people don't just think of themselves as evil or wrong. Like in their minds, that's completely justified.
That's an incredibly important point. That very few people on Earth are like, you know what?
I'm evil.
I really like Captain Planet villains. Just evil to be mean. Instead, everyone's different. But you might think, look, this person is a bad apple. They've maybe committed crimes in the past. They're going to continue to. Whether or not they committed this particular crime doesn't matter. Let's just get them off the streets.
Right.
So the motivation feels like good intentions.
Right.
But it does a disservice to our society when we aren't getting the truth, when we don't get reliable information.
Right. It's disturbing to think how many people are probably in prison right now due to false confessions.
It's the second most common reason people are falsely convicted of crimes. Number one is eyewitness testimony. That's a whole other episode.
Yeah. I just, the justice system really surprised me sometimes. And whenever you hear, I was watching another one of these true detective. Oh, there's a whole documentary on Netflix. That's where I saw
it's
about.
Great. Yeah.
And I had to turn it off. I watched one episode and I was like, man, this ended awfully.
Yeah.
Like there was no vindication. It just ended like, and now he's in prison and he's been there for 20 years. It's like, well, all right.
Yeah. So I don't remember the name of that documentary, but I so recommend it because it's got multiple episodes.
Can you find the name of that,
Find the name
of
it because you see that the reasons all these different people falsely confessed are completely different. In some cases, it's that the guy just drank a lot and would often black out and didn't remember what he had done and just became convinced that he must have. In other cases, it's, how can a lie detector be wrong? Like, I was shopping with my friend, but the lie detector says that I killed my daughter.
Right.
So,
by the way, the confession tapes is what it's called on Netflix.
Confession tapes. It's a must-watch.
I don't know if we even introduced this, what we're talking about, but you did an episode on false confessions.
Correct.
And the way that you got that one girl to confess, it's like you guys manipulated her like very intentionally and perfectly. But seeing it happen just makes you realize like how easy it can happen.
Because it's always easy to think like why would they confess? If I didn't do something, I wouldn't confess.
Exactly.
Right. And you weren't coerced.
It just doesn't make sense.
You assume the person might be kind of crazy, or maybe they did commit the crime. How could a otherwise healthy person confess?
Yeah.
And it's manipulation.
Yeah.
It's not about coercion in the sense of like force and meanness being the bad cop. There was no bad cop.
No,
the bad cop was this director who they never met that could show up at any time. I'm the good cop. And for half of the day, I was not getting false confessions. Wasn't able to make it work. So Melissa, who was the expert, I said, could you just do the next participant? Funny enough, it wound up being someone who was a big Vsauce fan. Could not have been luckier that the one person who knew Vsauce was not interrogated by me. We probably would have had to have called it off for that participant. But anyway, it was about being nice. It was about being friends with the person and just showing them that if you confess, that's like honestly the best thing. Because if you don't, who knows what could happen. But look, if you confess, it's like a piece of, I get it. It's, it's the best thing for you, in my opinion, as someone who's your friend.
Right.
And people's have a skewed idea.
And as you got this girl to sign this paper, you wrote out a paper saying, like, I cheated on the exam and just sign and date it. And in my mind, I'm playing it through my head, the stories I've heard of people who just signed that paper so easily and then Next thing they know, the police come in with handcuffs and they never leave prison again for their whole lives.
Yeah.
And the thing that stood out to me about what you did too is how much practice it took.
Yes.
You don't just accidentally get someone to falsely confess.
Right.
You have to be an expert. You have to be a professional. You have to be trained. You have to know exactly how to manipulate people. And so to me, it made me hate those pigs. But it made me like
it's really disturbing.
it made me very frustrated to think that there's people using these techniques for nefarious purposes.
So Melissa Rusano,
and it's very what's the word? It's very conscious. You have to know exactly what you're doing to do it.
Yeah, you do. And again, it's hard to know what people's intentions are. Often they're not bad. Instead, it's like, I'm convinced you did it.
Yeah.
And now it's my job to get a confession, and it doesn't matter how I get it. It doesn't matter if I sort of...
Well, that's a shame. That means there's something fucked up in our justice system where there's not more emphasis on the truth.
Yeah.
And there's more emphasis on booking them.
Yeah, I think what we need is a better way to analyze whether someone's telling the truth and cooperating or not before the decision is made that they're guilty, time to get that confession. Because once you have a confession in a court, it looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
No matter what the evidence says, if you've confessed to the crime,
a murder and a rape,
it's kind of a closed case. Yeah, it's done. So, I don't know all the details of the legal system, obviously. I was just interested in the psychology of how do you get someone, how do you manipulate someone into just saying, you know what, I'd rather cooperate and do what you say than stand up for what I really did.
And the thing is, how much time did it take you to get that one girl to falsely confess?
So it took her maybe 25 minutes.
Because they spent on his cousin, what was his name? Brandon, yeah. I think they spent like 12 hours with him.
Right. Now, of course, the difference there is that he is being interrogated about a very serious crime.
Yeah.
Right.
Whether or not you exchange information
and
ruined
also
our
handicapped
data.
Mentally.
Exactly. Now, we didn't include another girl that I got a false confession from, and it took, I don't know the exact number, but it took like 9 minutes.
Wow.
She was only 19, and the power dynamic was incredibly skewed. And when we debriefed her, she literally said, well, I confessed because you had all the power. Like, what was I going to do? I'd already made you mad by apparently cheating. I wasn't going to say no to your request for me to sign and date a form. And it just made me, she was 19, which means her confession is a signed confession from an adult.
Right.
But because of she was this small person, and she was like...
How come you didn't include that one?
It was, again, about time. And that's the biggest kind of bummer about...
It made it look like you only got it once. The way you guys edited it.
Yeah. And so I want to use bonus clips to tell more of these stories. But one thing we've noticed in season 2 is that the episodes contain so much stuff. Like, we should have just done false confessions as an episode. But instead, we fit lots of things in there. We had the P300 brain scanner. We had midazolam.
Right.
And so we couldn't say, all right, now we're going to spend 40 minutes on interrogation. And then after all of that, we're going to switch gears again.
I think that's a good idea, and you have more content, too. You can explore all those. All of those deserve their own episode.
Yeah, exactly. So now I think, moving forward, I would like to focus on...
More seasons ahead?
Well, I don't know. I hope so.
Okay.
Support Minefield.
Okay.
And, I understand it costs money, but YouTube Red really helps creators like myself and shows like Minefield be made. So, I really want YouTube to see that this is a good bet. Educational content is popular.
It's got to be one of the most popular YouTube Reds. It's the only one I watch. In my opinion, it's the only good one, if I'm being honest. I mean, not to throw salt in someone's eyes.
No. Look, everyone
it's the only one we watch.
Everyone has different tastes. Yeah. And I'm excited to see what, YouTube Red comes out with next and what kind of decisions they make about their original programming.
I don't know. I don't understand their strategy. I don't understand YouTube Red, but whatever. That's a whole different fucking can of worms.
It's so complicated.
I have too many. You know what? I don't need another episode of me bitching about you. There's already like 20 of those. But I am curious. what is it like? I actually want to ask you something else. The what you did with the brain scanner, where they could tell what you stole. I don't like that shit.
Yeah.
And I don't like that shit the same as I don't like lie detectors. It's all a bunch of crap, and I hate it. I hate those machines, and I hate people who think that they can use it to tell the truth.
Right.
That one was disturbing, though.
Very disturbing.
Like, how do you feel? Do you think that is an accurate? Maybe you can describe what it was a little bit so people know what we're talking about.
Okay, so a typical lie detector is looking at skin conductivity and things like that. And
blood pressure,
whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's just total pseudoscience, in my opinion.
Not very reliable.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's more about, making the person nervous enough that they feel like they can't hide things. But really what happens is people who don't have anything to hide feel like they're not being believed, and they start to not believe themselves.
Mm-hmm. If you're a real psychopath, you can just fucking
lie
if it's
your
not a
way
lie,
out of
if
it.
you believe it.
Yeah.
George Costanza, season 7, episode 2.
Exactly. However, the P300 doesn't fall for those problems.
Right.
What this does is it looks at how your brain electrically responds to various stimuli. And there's a response called P300 that has to do with novelty. So if something is new to you, you'll see an effect. But if you've seen something before, it's different.
That's what it measures.
That's what it does.
I thought it was measuring the familiarity and not the novelty.
They're related.
Okay.
It's something like, look, if you really didn't commit this crime and you've never been to the crime scene, you never would have seen this door.
And you have no control at all over how your brain would react to that image.
You have no voluntary control over whether you recognize something.
Right.
You can't show me a picture of my mom and have me go, nope, I'm not going to turn on the recognition switch. It just happens.
Right.
But it sounds like there could be room for mistakes to happen with something like that.
Well, people have tried, right? Like, and that's what I tried in the episode. I tried to, every time an image showed up, I tried to pretend like there was something amazing I was discovering about it. And it didn't make a difference because, again, it's not this simple A to B. There's this algorithm in between that knows how to correct for different strategies. So it's not accepted.
There's an algorithm. See, that's where I'm out. I don't buy. Like, if the brain is actually sending a signal, I'll buy that. But if they have a man-made algorithm that reduces...
Sure.
That I don't buy.
Right, because then you wonder what's in between.
Well, algorithms are fallible. Human work is fallible. If my brain shoots off a signal every time I see something that I recognize, that's compelling.
Right.
But if these guys are, I don't know how they can make an, you know what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I mean, what their algorithm tries to do is better read that recognition signal and get rid of noise or other things you might be trying to do. Like with a regular lie detector, if you clench your butt cheeks every time they ask a question,
your
that
blood
messes
pressure
up the
goes
data.
high.
Exactly. Yeah. But with this, their computers are watching every measure, and they're able to detect when you're trying to.
So
fool
what do you
it.
think? Is this a true lie detector that they've developed?
I believe that it is the most reliable truth detector out there.
That's terrifying.
And it's terrifying, and that's why it's not accepted by any court.
That's unethical, in my opinion.
Exactly. So Craig Stark, actually, who was on the video games episode, he had, I don't know if I can say this, but he's been involved in these kinds of discussions. Like, should a prosecution be able to force someone to undergo a functional MRI or any kind of brain scanning lie detector? And there are two issues. One is that if it is really good, maybe that's bad. Because maybe we should be allowed to have privacy in our own minds.
Yes.
Secondly, if there's a chance that it's not reliable, that it might have a wrong result, a jury is easily swayed by, well, I'm wearing a lab coat and this thing cost $1 million and it said that you did the crime. What are you going to do? You're going to believe the science.
Yeah.
Even if in reality it could be 50-50.
I don't like. You need privacy in your own mind. We can't have this all powerful machine that knows when you're lying. The social implication of that is awful. It's like a dystopian future. Yeah. And again, there's a chance that it's wrong.
I feel like there's always a chance of something to get wrong there.
It's like the
like, what if there's a door that I don't necessarily know, but maybe I've walked by that place.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Like,
sometime
even,
in my life, and it reminds me of something.
You know what it reminds me of? This machine. It reminds me of that fucking Tom Cruise movie. It was by Steven Spielberg. Dystopian future. You got it. Minority Report.
Minority Report.
It's the Minority Report.
Yeah. So we have to be really careful, and I feel we're going to have more and more discussions about this as the technology improves. And weirdly, I think, we might have to start saying that some methods of learning, some methods of knowledge are off limits. I did an episode on, is all really fair in love and war? And I looked at the Geneva Conventions. I looked at things like, is it... Not all countries have this kind of a law, but in the U.S., your spouse cannot be compelled to testify against you. Because in America, there's this feeling that if we have to ruin a marriage to get the truth, we shouldn't get the truth. Because the marriage is, more important. And there's a lot of religious overtones there. Like that marriage is under the umbrella of God.
Right.
And us determining whether you embezzled these funds, that's our concern. And if we can't prove you did without ruining your marriage, then you're free.
Yeah.
And not all countries do that, but there's something very philosophically powerful about the notion of if we're not going to go after your family to find out what you did.
I think it's the same with parents, right? Some states have the law where the parents have to cooperate or they don't. If like their son, for example, is a suspect of murder, then in some states the parents don't have to cooperate with the cops.
I think it's great. I think there needs to be some things more important than or not even that, but there needs to be some boundaries, right?
Right. And that doesn't mean that there's no way to find the truth. Like, look for evidence elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I think there are other protections about privacy with your attorneys, with clergy.
Right.
What I say in this religious context to a priest in a confession, I should be free to have that relationship and not withhold stuff and keep it to myself because it could be used against me.
Right.
Because then where are we?
What was it like working with YouTube executives? Because you had expressed, you preferred Vsauce. So let's just shit on YouTube a little bit here. No, I'm kidding. But what was it like having someone else over your head? Because me and Ela toyed with the idea of having a show.
Yeah.
And I think I underestimate how annoying or awful or that would be having someone all of a sudden you've had creative control your whole life and you've got some guy over your head telling you what you can and can't do.
Yeah, we're all so spoiled by the fact that we can make whatever kind of content we want as long as we're not breaking laws.
Right.
That's the way it is. Sometimes it means that it's worse because you should have taken someone else's advice.
Sure.
Other times it just means that what you're making is more authentically you. I think that in this season, YouTube and the production company and myself and the whole crew, we got much, much closer to understanding what science communication can be and how to, make the right show. I think that for all the disagreements I'll have with YouTube saying, that's boring. And then I think personally I'm probably a bit too precious about, we got to put more facts, more explanations, more just me talking about the thing. I think when you find the right balance, you can reach more people.
That would drive me crazy. Some asshole telling me that's boring. I'm like, who the fuck are you?
It's not
do you ever
so
get, like,
much.
do you ever feel yourself getting like righteous or
No,
not
I never really
but like
have
defensive, right? Like, well, fuck are you? It's not boring. It's my show.
No one ever said anything was boring. It's more like, here's my concern about this, right? And then it gives me a chance to externalize why I think it's important. And that's valuable because when it's just in your own head, you don't always know what your instincts are telling you or how to vocalize them. But when you're forced to sit in front of someone and say, here's why I think that, we should release the false confession with no edits. Yeah, but if you don't edit it, there's going to be a lot of boring stuff. And I'm like, well, but I'm not doing it for the views. I'm doing it for look
look
at this slice of it's a human zoo we're watching. And by thinking that out and in defending it, I understand myself
You're
better.
defending, you're a real half glass full guy, aren't you?
There you go. Yeah.
All right, we come up on our second break. We've got tons more sauce to V.
And we'll take some questions.
Yeah, we'll take some questions. Guys, give us a ring. Pop up the number. What's the number? Let me read it to you guys here real fast. You know, let me pop up here. The number is 818-214-8504. Give us a call if you got some questions for your boy Vsauce. We'll be right back after this commercial break. See you guys soon. Thank you to MeUndies for sponsoring this episode of the H3 podcast. These guys make the best underwear. End of period. End of period. Whatever that means. End of sentence. If you wear underwear, you need MeUndies. It's that simple. Every year, Ela, thank you for showing.
I'm showing it in movement.
I'll tell you, you could dip my Fruit Loops in that milk, if you know what I mean.
No.
I like to dip my Fruit Loops in that milk. Anyway, every year, millions of people receive the least liked gift of all time, underwear. But we still give it to our family and loved ones who don't want it because we hate them. That's not in there. I added that. But maybe it's not the underwear that's the problem. It's the kind of underwear. Let me tell you about MeUndies. It's the only underwear that makes an amazing gift because it's such an amazing product. All right. I love MeUndies because I've got a swampy, saturated chode. It's hot in LA every day. It's December 15th today, and it's like 90 degrees. Normal underwear doesn't cut it. I need something that's velvety soft, that's going to absorb all my fucking flavors. Much like is shown here. It's a swampy, milky, Fruit Loopy place. And this is the undies that is equipped to handle it. It's so soft. It's flexible. Bro, trust me, you think I'm memeing around. Just try one pair and tell me it's not the best. It's soft, flexible waistband. 3 times softer than cotton. Naturally sustained, sourced fibers. Okay? MeUndies made underwear the perfect gift that everyone's going to love. It's a goddamn holiday miracle that there's an underwear that can actually cradle my supple, childlike ball sack.
Why do you have to...
It's childlike because it's so supple, not because of the size. What can I say, Ela? You're blessed.
You could talk about the beautiful colors.
Yeah, I mean, they can see. I love the design,
you can
too.
Talk about the patterns.
This year, don't give underwear, give MeUndies, all right? Now, listen here, because this holiday season, you get an exclusive 20% off the softest underwear and socks you will ever wear, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Go to MeUndies.com/H3. That's MeUndies.com/H3. Thank you to MeUndies, and thanks to them, just as a general note, for making such a wonderful place to rest my jewels. And finally, thank you to our sponsor, Honey. Do you want to save money while shopping online for last-minute holiday gifts? Well, let me tell you about an online shopping hack from a startup that I recently discovered called Honey. They call it a hack. It's one way to refer to it. You could also call it a plugin, a browser plugin. It's a browser plugin. It's not really a hack.
You installed that, you're a hacker.
I'm a bro. I hacked my way to through the internet and saved a bunch of. I kid about that, but the product itself is incredible. Let me tell you about the product. Honey was founded by 2 friends who were frustrated by the lack of price transparency from online shopping. So they started Honey to help others find the best possible prices online. Here's how it works. Honey is a free, 100% free browser extension for Chrome, Firefox, Safari. It effortlessly saves you time and money while shopping online at tens of thousands of stores. You guys know how easy it is to install a plugin. You literally just type Honey Chrome, if that's what you use. You click once, it's in. It's easy as eating a pie. I think most people have an easy time eating pie. I'm sure there's some people, but generally it's easy as eating pie. Feels like moving on. Just saying, I just want to clarify that. So while you shop, Honey will instantly find every working coupon code on the internet and automatically apply the best discount to your cart at checkout. Time magazine called it basically free money. And Hackers magazine called it the best hack of 2017. It's actually illegal in some states because
top 5 life hacks.
It's definitely top 5. It's not illegal, by the way. That was a total joke. It's perfectly legal to use. It is a hack though. Honey makes Amazon better. This is a really important part, and this is what the most that I loved about it. So you install this plugin. I use Amazon all the frickin' time, but it's pretty. It can be sometimes annoying to navigate, and sometimes items can be sold by other sellers who have Amazon Prime, for example, and it's like $10-20 cheaper than what's the default that you land on. And so what Honey will do on Amazon is that it's going to sort the best option from different sellers, automatically factoring out all the variables such as price, shipping costs, Prime status, and so you're always going to get the best price and the best experience. And I've been using this for months, and frankly, it's already saved me a lot of money. At random stores at checkout, it's like, boom, coupon applied. It's like, oh my God, basically free money. But Amazon, very useful. It will find you the deals effortlessly. Okay? Kabish? Honey can also show you the price trend of any item because it's always changing. The price is always changing on Amazon. Who can keep up with this stuff? So you know if it's the best time to buy it. Black Friday and Cyber Monday may be over, but you can still save money this Christmas with Honey. Honey, I just hacked your computer and installed Honey.
Thanks, Honey.
Honey has already saved over hundreds of millions of dollars with over 6 million members. It's completely free to join, and it will literally only take you 2 clicks to start saving money, guys. You got nothing to lose. Give it a shot. You're going to love it. Go to honey.com/H3. That's join. Oh, sorry, guys. It's joinhoney.com/H3. Joinhoney.com/H3. Go to that link so that they know that we sent you. Thank you so much to Honey. Appreciate you guys. If you're in the market for a life hack or, some soft, luscious underwear, please consider supporting the show. Thank you, guys. Let's get back to sauce time. Welcome back, everybody, to the H3 podcast with Vsauce. We were talking about YouTube executives before. Was there anything they vetoed or got in the way of creatively during the making of the show that stuck out to you?
I'm trying to remember. Oh, yeah. I think I can tell this story because it makes them look good. Like, I really wanted to be waterboarded.
Oh.
That was going to be an episode.
I had to watch that.
Yeah. And we found people who were willing to waterboard me.
Okay. I'm sure they were lined up.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I would only feel safe doing it in that way that you've seen other people have done this, where you've got people there who know what's going to happen, and you have an immediate off switch. From what I've seen, it's like you're holding a big metal bar, and if you let go of it and it hits the floor, it's loud, it rings, and they immediately unhinge you.
I know there was like this conservative reporter who was like, "I'll get waterboarded. That shit isn't torture." I forget his name. But he got waterboarded, and he was like, he sat up immediately, and he's like, "That's torture. There's no question about it." Immediately.
Oh,
yeah. So it's different than like being physically hurt, splinters up your fingernails, because you become numb to that kind of pain. Like your body releases whatever it is, hormones or chemicals that allow you to kind of like the next one hurts less, the next one hurts less. But when it comes to elevated CO2 in your blood, there's no mechanism for adapt. Like, it's not that bad. It's bad all the time, and it's much more psychologically damaging.
It's not physically dangerous unless you're administering it poorly, as I understand it. It just gives
you shouldn't. I don't think you don't die.
Yeah.
You don't really have any marks unless the restraints were too tight, and that's what makes it so nefarious.
You just feel like you're drowning, right?
You feel like you're about to die because you have too much CO2 in your blood. You're not getting enough oxygen. You can't breathe.
Why is that? I mean, how does that work? By just dumping water over your face?
Well, your face is completely covered in this cloth, and you're like, you can't draw in air. And then we have this reflex to water because we've evolved to know that we are not water creatures. And so you have a panic reflex to that. I can't breathe this. I cannot live like this. That is very different from being whipped or being punched repeatedly. It's a different kind of torture.
It's like a pure panic.
Yeah.
But so they administer it for just enough time. They let you breathe, how does it work that you can keep, because clearly you can keep breathing because you don't die.
Yeah, you're only unable to breathe for seconds, but it doesn't take long for that panic instinct to come in, where you realize not only am I not breathing, but water is all around me,
right.
and it's in my mouth, and you only need a couple of seconds, and that panic happens, and you can't do it any longer.
Okay, so what happened with the executives?
Oh, they just thought that it was way too dangerous, and it was. The scary thing about waterboarding is how easy it is to do. It's not like, well, first of all, you have to get, permission from the FBI to handle, C4. It's like, no, do you have a water can?
A rag and a bucket of water.
Yeah. Are you a bad person? Here.
Right.
It's like you just do it with what's in your kitchen.
What psychopath thought that up?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it was really smart to say, let's not do that.
Do you wish you did it, though, looking back? I mean, it would have been interesting.
That's the one.
What was the scientific purpose of getting waterboarded?
The purpose was to talk about what I've just said, which is the sort of physiology of why it's different from repeatedly being whipped or being just confined.
Yeah, the panic aspect.
That sort of reflex we have to water is not good around my mouth and covering all of my ways of breathing. And I could have just discussed that. But Mindfield gives me a chance to do things.
Right.
The question is, what do we gain by having me undergo it and then say, yep, I can confirm that one of the worst things you can do to a person is indeed bad.
Right, yeah.
And watching it may be too much. Like, if I'm trying to think to myself what it would be like to watch you go through it, it might be too much.
Exactly. And that was a question we had, which is that we don't want to just do things for the sake of like, boy, this will be dramatic and get views. So we try to figure out, what do you do while I'm being waterboarded that contributes to scientific knowledge? And, you go to like the obvious, I don't know, put an EEG net on your head. And it's like, what? So you can see panic? Like we already know.
Yeah.
So it turned out to just also not be educational or interesting.
Just juicy.
Just juicy and dangerous, yeah.
That sounds like ratings to me.
Boom.
Juicy and dangerous.
There you go.
Can I ask, what's the budget on a show like yours?
Per
episode?
I don't know the per episode budget. I mean, I'll tell you that it cost more money to make season 2 than Vsauce has. I mean, I could have not paid anyone for a year and still not made season 2. That's why I had to work with YouTube. They made it possible.
Like, millions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not talking about like, well, Michael, why didn't you just take out your debit card and give me a season 2, please?
Yeah.
And then give it to us all for free or with ad support. I was like, this is only possible. It's only possible to build a team working on educational content like this if you got money, because they deserve to be paid for their time.
Sure.
I couldn't do it on my own.
Yeah. How long does it take to film each episode? How long did it take to film the entire season?
We filmed through parts of 4 months. I had VidCon and a trip to London in there, but it took a long time. After ayahuasca, it was smooth sailing. I wasn't so anxious about like what was coming up. Yeah. And then we do all the rooftop scenes in a week. We work 6 days that week from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., sunset to sunrise.
Right.
And that's pretty weird. You're flipping your whole day.
So it took you about 4 months of constant shooting to film the whole season.
Yeah, and then the whole time I was on the Spring Brain Candy tour, we were in pre-production. So I would have these long, hours and hours long conference calls, running through ideas, working with psychologists on what can we do. Have we heard back from that university yet? Can we get this person on board? Then, of course, you've got all the editing, the screening, the watching the episodes, the notes, then the voiceover. And then you're finally locked. And then you wait for the ingestion process of getting captions, getting them approved, getting them rated, and then getting them available on YouTube.
Such a process.
Yeah, yeah.
Compared to that, how long does it take to research, film, and edit an episode of Vsauce?
I mean, it takes weeks as well. It can take months, know, and it's up to me when I feel like it's done, when I feel like I've gone deep enough in the explanation. Like right now I'm working on a thing about the center of mass and the center of gravity and how things rotate. And I'm just not happy until I've gotten to a point where like the explanation is, say, purely geometric. there's no more like, but why? But why? It's like, because we live in a universe with these dimensions. There you go. And so, yeah, it takes a long time, but it's not like it takes a long time because I'm just busy with Mindfield or with Brain Candy or with the Curiosity Box. It takes a long time because I've decided that I want it to be that deep. I want to put that much work into it.
Right. I think I'm jealous of that mindset that you have. And I know there's other channels on YouTube that have this, it's done when it's done, because I get so anxious when I don't.
Well,
you have a whole different
It's lucky to be doing educational content because I can keep going deeper into the subject.
Right.
But if I was doing like comedy, like, when's a joke done?
Yeah.
That's
there's no
tougher.
definite answer.
There's no definite answer.
Do you get anxious when you don't upload on like a classic video?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And I really start feeling that pressure, and I really feel like, if I'm not active enough, then people move on. Maybe they stop even remembering that there's this great thing I think that I'm making. And so, I can use social media to put more out. And the question is, like, do I create a format, like a type of show that takes less work? Like I could do, an episode about something just from reading a Wikipedia page, but I wouldn't be happy with that. It wouldn't challenge me. So I put a lot of time into things, and I try to consume all the media that already exists on that topic. So I can say, look, I've read all the books, I've watched all these lectures, and here's the synthesis of them. Here's what some of them missed out on, some of them added, and so it justifies its existence. It's not just another of the same.
Interesting. Tell me about, this was one from the subreddit people were interested in. Tell me about Michael Vsauce from middle school and high school. What kind of dude were you then?
Oh, man.
What was your lower education experience? I think that's lower education. Middle school, high school.
I mean, I was still the same person,
Right.
but there was no YouTube.
Yeah.
I did all the things you would expect, right? I was part of the trivia team. I did act in a lot of musicals and plays and stuff.
I find that interesting that you are an entertainer, I feel like.
Yeah.
As much as you are an educator.
Yeah.
Or which one do you think you're more of?
An entertainer.
Huh.
And I think it's just important for me not to say, like, I'm Scientist Michael, because I'm not. And I don't want anyone to think that I believe I have super knowledge or any kind of, like, I don't. The more episodes I make, the more I'm like, I'm an idiot. And thank goodness there are such smart people out there I can talk to. So, I think it's just safer to be an entertainer, science communicator. But what I'm pointing to, and you can see by the length of my video descriptions, look at what the researchers have done. Look at what they're doing. They're the ones whose work I'm showing to the public and helping them show to the public.
What kind of plays were you in high school?
I was the oldest looking student in high school.
Okay.
So when
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, right? It helped.
Why?
In high school, that's dope.
I already had a receding hairline.
Okay.
And so if they needed a dad,
Right.
boom, Michael. Like
You
I
were
was
you were the typecast dad.
Yeah, I was the general in Kiss Me Kate because I was the oldest looking person, right? I had the authority.
Right.
fine.
Did you have a
I'm an
beard
old-
back then?
No, I had sideburns.
Very nice. I'd like to see that.
I may have played around with a goatee.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely did. And through college, I had a goatee.
Okay.
It wasn't until I graduated college, moved to New York, and that was like right when the hipster sort of subculture emerged, right?
Right.
Like I was there with Williamsburg and all of this, and all of a sudden a beard was totally, of course you should have a beard.
Did you ever bleach your?
Nope.
Did you ever
Tips?
bleach your tips? Now that's a question I should ask
never
all of
did.
our guests. I frosted my tips once.
I loved it. I loved it. You looked great.
No.
No, you did one
unironically.
actually.
I was like, what are you talking about? You didn't know me then. You're talking about the
I'm talking about
90s
the
boy band.
The boy band,
Yeah.
but you did it non-ironically.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, when I
no.
was in middle school, and my hair,
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Ventura.
Okay,
Currently-
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
so yeah,
so-
you're like, Offspring and Crazy Taxi and Frosted Tips.
Yeah, thanks. You're giving me a break here. You're letting me off the hook.
It was the society
yeah,
around you.
yeah. It was very popular at the time. But as you can imagine, there's all these cool, slick kids. Where all the girls wanted these guys. All the girls, I don't know what it is. They loved the spiky frosted tips.
Yeah.
All I wanted was some spiky frosted tips. Ela, what is it about this that just makes girls salivate?
B44 look.
Right.
It was in back
Before
then.
4, there was B5.
Yeah.
But anyway, back in high school, man, I hate my fucking hair, but I wanted to look like these cool frosted tip gentlemen, and I try to frost my curly ass hair, and it just really, I looked like a Three Stooge or something. Like, it was just a total fucking disaster.
Is that in hindsight, or at the time was it cool?
It was bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I hated my hair so much as a kid. My mom's a hairdresser, and once, because my hair used to be quite long, I had like a full-on Jufro down here.
Yeah.
And she straightened it. I swear to you now, she chemically straightened my hair. And I came, and even then, it wouldn't fall. I was like, I'm going to have like a beautiful mane of hair, right?
Yeah.
It just went like this.
Wow.
Like this.
I would love to see photos.
I feel like you should do that today.
It was fucking, bro, it was humiliating. And it was chemically straightened, so I couldn't undo it.
Right. Yeah, I had curly hair as well, and so I couldn't do the looks that I wanted.
I hate curly hair. Did you hate it? Did you wish you had frosted tips?
No.
Never? Did you ever want a spike?
I wanted the really gelled look.
Right.
You know,
some curly guys pull off the gel look.
Some
I never did.
can. I probably didn't have. I didn't care enough. I didn't put
How
enough
old are
time
you?
into it. I'm 31.
Okay, so we're from the same generation.
Yeah.
God, I'm older than you. Is that strange?
How much?
That's strange.
Not
that
very
I'm
much.
older. But it's still strange because you still have the dad vibe.
Well, yeah.
Even to this
Yeah,
day.
but you also,
I didn't choose the
What,
dad
you think
life.
I have a dad vibe?
I mean, you're also kind of known to have a dad vibe, so it's funny to
I mean,
see.
you got gray hair.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. That doesn't help my case. I'm going to bleach those. I'm going to take care of those.
It is funny to realize that, like, touring with Adam Savage, who is 50,
Right.
that we kind of come across like we're just the same age.
I totally agree. At a certain
know?
point, like past, I'd say 20, I want to say like 20. Is there? I know some people who are 22 that I consider my complete and utter peers.
Yeah.
But
some, no.
Yeah,
It's
some
really-
definitely not. But over the age of like 30, it's pretty much all the same shit. Like,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
can hang
there's
out with-
some
yeah.
Even
older people
25
who look
kind of like-
older, but yeah, you just become an adult. You're just in this big
Yeah.
block.
Yeah, it's like life sucks for all of us. We all have way too much responsibility. Why do you think people are? Do you know Jordan Peterson?
No.
Anyway, he's this guy. He's a brain guy.
It's like a psychologist.
Yeah, he's a psychologist. He's a psychoanalyst or psychoanalyst therapist. I was talking about why is it that he thinks that so many people are depressed these days? Because it seems to me, do you have that same impression that there's more people with mental health issues now than there seemed to be before? Maybe it's an issue of reporting or people are more comfortable talking about it. But his explanation that I thought was really compelling was that life is more complicated now for an individual than it was ever intended to be or ever was before. I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question, and I'm completely unqualified to talk about
sure.
it. But life being more complicated, I'm not sure what that means. But
Like
Yes, you have so much knowledge, or not knowledge, but like so much information available to you that it's an overload.
To me, it
almost.
felt like we have so many more responsibilities. We have to go work. We have to take care of people. We have to pay bills. We have to worry about making money. We have to worry about having an apartment. Like all these stuff.
But that hasn't
We have to
changed.
You have to worry about government. You have to worry about taxation. I mean, naturally, you just have like a fucking farm that you till.
right.
You just feed yourself.
I mean,
and shelter yourself.
feeding yourself, surviving off of the land is also pretty complicated.
Mhm.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever read the Unabomber's Manifesto?
I live it. No, I haven't.
I wouldn't recommend living it, but I'm not afraid to admit I ordered it off of Amazon. Probably
you're
on
on
a
a
list
list,
now.
bro. You're
Yeah.
definitely on a list.
Yeah, and his theory.
By the way, can I just say it as a site? God bless America that you can buy that book.
Yeah, I think it's such a weird thing. When you get the book, it's got this whole disclaimer on the back that's like, no funds go to the Unabomber. Like all the funds are donated to the Red Cross and to the publisher just to cover the costs, right?
But it's cool that we can preserve that and not just burn it and be like, this was an evil. Like, now, let's hear what this guy has. What's going on? Let's blow up some schools, right, Michael?
No, let's not.
Okay.
The uncomfortable thing about the Unabomber is that he had a lot of the same philosophies that futurists do today, except that he mailed bombs to people, right?
Yeah, where's that disconnect happen?
Yeah, I think, the disconnect was that he believed the only solution was a revolution that completely tore down society.
Okay.
He goes so far as to say we need to destroy and burn technical manuals, books. This is all based on, this is an idea we hear all the time, that like we evolved for millions of years to deal with a certain kind of society and life. And then rapidly, in the last just hundreds of years or less, we've had to go into a whole different kind of living that our biological bodies and minds weren't evolved
I guess
for.
that's what Jordan Peterson meant.
And what the Unabomber says, which I'm glad to be quoting now.
Let's put him on,
He's like, look, if you... He asks this good question, which is, if you had to spend every day fighting for your survival, finding food, hunting, building structures, reproducing, and you had to do this in all of these creative, challenging ways every day, and that was it, just to not die, would you still want to check Twitter? Would you still want to study the motions of the moon?
Yeah.
Like, are those really giving humans happiness? Or is it a thing that we've invented to fill the time that we now have because we've invented agriculture? Right. And we don't have to worry about food and survival. Yeah. Instead, we can study the physics of ceramic. We can do all these other things. And those aren't I forget what he calls them, but they're not these true goals.
So his opinion is that arts and science is bad?
Yeah. I mean, he's a
Luddite. Isn't that just? I mean, I'm like arguing with the Unabomber now. You're like defending him, but that just seems stupid because I mean, you can just go living on a fucking farm if you want to.
And that's what he did.
Right.
I mean, he still, I think, had to buy certain things that he could not get for himself. I think he didn't make a lot of his own clothing, but his whole argument was that look at the car. Okay, the car was invented, and it's more than an invention, though. It is something that we now have to deal with because think of how many people live in a place where they need a car just to get to work or to see family.
Yeah.
Again, that's what it's like. You have to buy car insurance. You need home insurance. All this shit that you have to deal with.
Right. So technology isn't just a bonus.
Yeah.
A technology is a thing that changes us. And all of a sudden, now we've got cars, we have roads. You're not free to go wherever you want to go, actually. It used to be you could just walk wherever.
Right.
Now, the highways, it's actually, you can't walk there. No pedestrians, right? And a lot of this is at least philosophically interesting. I don't prescribe to his philosophy, but I think that it's worth considering these. There's a great Wired article called "The Future Doesn't Need Us." And in that article, the author quotes the Unabomber without crediting him. And you read this section, you go, that's really amazing. That like we're reaching a point where we can't turn off the technology because our lives depend on it. And then later in the article, he's like, by the way, that was the Unabomber. And you're like, whoa! And that's what actually spurred me to get the book because I wanted to see this. And it is fascinating to think what I've evolved to be able to do to spread my genes all happened before the internet, before telephones, before agriculture, before tools. And now this technology is here and it's affecting us.
Yeah, definitely. I've always felt that like evolution isn't really taking form in humans. It's more the technology is our evolution. Like we're fighting natural evolution because if someone's born with a birth defect, we help them survive. Someone who's like we coddle or
I see what you're saying.
People are being eliminated from the gene pool, like what would happen in the wild, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Natural selection is now
has stopped.
Controlled by us.
Yeah.
And I think there's incredibly great arguments for why it's important. Hey, you have trouble getting around? This can help you. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's this much more abstract question of, because we invented the container, it's all downhill from
the container where it all started.
Like, because we could start collecting more berries than we needed for that day, we all of a sudden lost this cycle that we have to go through psychologically of finding a challenge and overcoming it.
Right.
All of a sudden, it's like, well, I don't need to do any of this stuff to live.
Yeah.
But I've got the time, so I'm going to go and do a 9-to-5 job, or I'm going to, learn how to juggle, or I'm going to, and those all are great. But the perspective that, do they make us happy, is really deep.
I genuinely think that part of the reason why people are so depressed or anxious or whatever is the lack of fundamentally and biologically fulfilling things, like growing shit or raising a child or these things, building a shelter, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That our brains are wired to actually be satisfied when you do something like that. And we don't have that level of satisfaction by going to a 9-to-5 job and getting a check and picking up groceries. You don't get that same sense of purpose from these things.
Fulfillment, I think, is that key word.
Yeah.
You said that, and it's weird to imagine that question that I posed earlier, which is that if every day was about, will I be able to find enough food and clean water to survive? But I'm able to do that, but it takes up all of my time and cognitive resources and creativity every day. Would I still do X? Would I still, And it's weird, because are you arguing that we shouldn't have explored the world or invented the printing press or poetry?
Right.
The Unabomber would say, yeah, that's bad. And I hate the cliche of there's a balance that we need. But I think that it's something we're going to be asking ourselves more and more and confronting.
It's inevitable. It's you can't fight progress. It's
or can you? The Unabomber believed he could.
I feel
did not work out.
What he thinks is he's going back to a natural state, but I would argue it's unnatural to fight the progress that we're having.
Yeah, this is.
I think what we're undergoing is natural.
Because our brains evolved to be able to realize, hey, I can make this stone a bit sharper and do things with it.
Everything happening is natural.
Yeah.
We're all playing out the natural course of how a species like ours evolved. And my point about natural selection no longer taking place is that we're no longer being selected on a biological, I think in 1,000 years, if we're still around, we're going to be the same species. But the technology is now what's replaced biological evolution is a technological evolution.
Yeah. Might it be that in the future, tens of thousands of years from now, natural selection will have selected people who don't get so stressed out and depressed by technology's influence on the world? Because if you don't fit into the mold of what's your job? You gotta have a career. You gotta do this thing.
But they'll still reproduce. Probably. Maybe over the course of many, many times that because it's still a matter of reproduction, right?
Yeah, totally. So everything that happens after you can reproduce is in this selection shadow. Natural selection doesn't really get molded by what happens to you later. So heart disease, Alzheimer's, those things all happen so late that it didn't get weeded out by natural selection.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that'd be a great movie.
I like so.
What is it like in 30,000 years? Is everyone just the kind of mind that thrives in a corporate environment? Because that's what's expected. I mean, there's this really narrow expectation. And if you deviate from that, you're weird and dangerous. And you can still reproduce, but then you've got suicide. You've got factors that could influence that.
Right.
And
Sure.
it sounds like a sci-fi movie, but it's It's a possible future. And so, again, if you want to like learn more about it, I would recommend other futurists besides the Unabomber. But
it all starts there. All good.
It didn't start there,
yeah.
but he, got that manifesto published in the New York Times.
But wow.
Yeah, that was one of his demands.
So this is called. I find that a little bit paradoxical. This philosophy is called futurism, of this thought that we should.
Oh no. That's just a broad term for thinking about the long future.
Got it.
Yeah. Being terrified of technology and its influence, that's being a Luddite. That's a different thing. You could totally love technology and think that it is going to bring the best future possible.
So what do you think about Elon Musk? What do you think generally about him? What do you think about his plans to colonize Mars? Do you think that that's a worthy goal, or is that a waste of time?
Oh, totally. I think it's totally worth it because we, whether we like it or not, are sort of the autobiographers of the universe.
Right.
We record information better than the universe does.
It says, Carl Sagan has this great saying, we are a way for the universe to know itself, right?
Yeah. And it's not just, it's knowing in a really rich way. Like we can write down exactly what the temperature was every day. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to look back at, tree rings and glaciers and really figure out what the temperature was on January 12th, 4 billion BC, right? Mm-hmm. But we can record those things. And I don't know what the, end purpose of all that is, but we can tell those stories and nothing else can. So going to Mars, exploring it, preserving how it is today, that's my big concern, is making sure that, I don't know how you do it, but you section off. We need to make sure that as Mars is and has been for most of our species' existence, is still there as a historical artifact, right? So if you're watching out there, future people who are colonizing Mars, name a park after me on Mars.
Keep it natural, guys. We need some natural parks on Mars.
At least parts of it, right?
Yeah.
Like we need to keep records of the story because.
Why is that important to you? Because most people would say, well, it's a biological insurance. It ensures that humanity will continue to thrive and exist. And hedging our bets. Like what is it about the record keeping that's important to you specifically?
It's what makes us different from everything else in the universe. There's nothing bigger to it than that. I'm not like, because then we'll all be happier. It's more like, because at the end of the day, if our entire species died, Jupiter wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
The moon would keep orbiting, right? The only impact we have is records that also last a long time. Mm-hmm. So telling stories, whether they're fiction or not, like they can be made up stories too. That's a whole other reflection of our minds that we get out there, that's there for after our sun has exploded. Mm-hmm. We've still got a Google years before the heat death of the universe. Mm-hmm. Other living organisms can discover what we have found, and they will know the universe better because of what we recorded about it.
Does this idea terrify you of like an empty universe? Just no conscious being. Like all this space, all these stars and planets, and not a single conscious being.
Right.
Is that a strange thought?
It's a weird thought that at a certain point, because of entropy, we will have no usable energy anywhere. Energy will be completely spread out. There won't be more here and less here, and there won't be the ability to put more energy in one place, like to make a battery, right? Mm. And so that's the heat death. There's just, we're done. That, like I said, is like a Google years from now.
Yeah.
It's a long way off. But, if organisms like us live that long, maybe we'll find a way to.
Yeah, I feel like there'll always be something.
There's always a way, and I feel like these theories are always changing too.
Oh,
like
as they should.
Only 50 years ago, everyone thought the universe would crunch back
Big
in.
Crunch. Some people still do. I mean, I don't think that's like ruled out. It's not like, hey guys, we got the answer. We're going to inflate forever.
It seems like nature is always way more simple and poetic, and like the Big Crunch makes like poetic sense in that it like crunches up, it comes out, it big bangs, it crunches up. I feel like the real answer is probably something more cyclical than it just like phases out and disappears forever. That seems
could be.
It just seems unlikely, but I don't know why.
I don't think we We don't know a lot.
Yeah.
And, if we need to escape this universe, maybe we'll find a way to enter another set of 3 spatial dimensions.
It's going to be our brains are going to be in a computer.
Right. Upload your mind.
That's it.
Black Mirror.
We were listening to, I forget if it was a podcast about these guys working on AI.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole philosophical debate about keeping them in a box. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Because basically, a lot of people are afraid of AI right now. And so they didn't get into too much detail, but they speak very metaphorically about keeping it in some kind of box so that we can get its help, but we keep it caged up because we're afraid of what will happen if it's not caged, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was that we were listening to? It was so interesting.
I think it was with Sam Harris.
Yeah, I think it was with Sam Harris and some AI guys. But there's this really big debate going on right now with Elon Musk and other people working on AI about should we be afraid or is it completely overblown and this is going to be, it's going to be revolutionary one way or the other, but is this something that we should be afraid of? It's very...
right?
It's crazy. This is real science fiction happening right now.
It's ethical, It's like, well, wait a second. If we can't be sure that these, AIs aren't conscious, then is it wrong to keep them in a box? But then you have to start asking, well, what is it like even to be a cockroach?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're fantastic. If that was an AI, we'd be like, that's genius. This thing, it finds food.
Yeah.
It could survive all kinds of things.
Right.
So should we not even be killing cockroaches? If they have any kind of semblance of goals for the future or plans, then it's a tragedy when they die.
One of the more terrifying things I heard from that podcast that I thought was very thought-provoking is that we create AI. We can never know actually if there's real true consciousness inside of an AI, right?
Yeah, I can't know if you're conscious. You could be a philosophical zombie.
I really love, that's true. And that's why I love the saying, I think, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you just know that something exists by the very nature of yourself thinking and acting and stuff. So we create this super intelligent AI that can reproduce, it can get resources, it can build, it can colonize different planets.
It can be creative. It can react to things as though it's feeling things.
Exactly. It has families. It colonizes other planets, but we never know if it's conscious.
Yeah.
And this guy, he posed this question. He's like, "What if they're all actually just tin boxes?
Yeah.
And they actually don't know or care that they're alive, and the universe ends up being populated by essentially dead matter."
Right. Essentially, just like a really big virus.
Yeah.
Not to hate on viruses, they might have consciousness.
But
probably not.
Yeah.
But
viruses are dead by some accounts, right? They're not living, is what they say. Is the comparison?
Yeah. When you get into like, well, what is alive? Because a virus can replicate itself,
right.
and but they're right on that edge. I think most people would say they're not alive.
God, that shit with the virus is so fucking crazy.
Right?
Now,
it just happens like gravity happens.
Yeah.
Like it injects its what it needs to reproduce itself just by chemical reaction,
right.
just by mechanics and physics. It's not deciding or
the virus whole thing is it's such a trip. It's like the perfect antithesis of conscious life. And I think the analogy of that and like these tin robots colonizing space is a perfect example. Like this man-made unstoppable virus that is just an empty universe. And we perish for whatever reason. And these fucking empty robots just populate the universe.
But are they empty? The weird thing is the only way we can know is by asking them. And if they report back, no, I'm aware that I'm aware. Mm-hmm. You have to take their word for it. Just like I have to take your guys' word for it when you tell me that you feel things and that you're conscious and that you're aware of your existence. Mm-hmm. You could be lying. You could just be, I could be a brain in a vat.
We're all just empty tin boxes.
Yeah. Meat boxes.
But now there's shit with... the viruses are being used now, engineered to treat like cancers, right?
Yeah.
This is the new thing, that they're engineering viruses to go after certain cancer cells. And now it turns out that viruses that have been killing and devastating living creatures for all this time could end up being the answer to all these horrible diseases.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, they give us a great vessel for, look, they already have the mechanism to to spread and survive certain, traumas, but if we get them on our side. But I wonder what the definition of a virus is, because when you really get down into some of the most simple viruses, it's just like these two proteins, when they touch each other, the molecular bonds cause a folding that releases the DNA or RNA or whatever it is. And it's just like, what? That's like if you let go of a ball, it falls to the ground. It just happens due to natural laws, not any kind of biology or life.
Yeah, there's no like biology. The rule is like reproduction, right? But viruses have that desire to reproduce, don't they?
Oh, I don't know if it's a desire,
or like
but it happens.
Yeah, it happens.
It just happens the way something that goes up comes down. It just happens. It's not like the thing that's going up says, yo, we're going to have a better existence and we're going to be able to reproduce if we fall. It just does fall. And then some things follow the laws of the universe and make more of themselves. Right. And we're related to them. We came from them.
All right, let's tone it down here a little bit.
Let's do some poop jokes.
I've got some, I want to finish off with some really important stuff. I want to tone it down. Let's come back to Earth for a little bit. How does it feel being transcending from a science channel to becoming a living meme? As I was telling you previously, Vsauce memes are in very high demand. The meme economy shows that Vsauce memes are taking a very strong upturn. How do you feel about having ascended?
Do you follow the meme economy?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that kind of analytical approach to, because it's psychology, really. It's like, at what point is a joke going to be lame?
Well, it's my currency. Of course, it's like my,
You've got a lot invested in the meme economy? Yeah. And I love that kind of idea of like, I want to do an episode on the psychology of lameness when something becomes cringy and eye-rolly and old news.
Right.
Because we're living in such a fast-paced information world now that we have many more examples of that than we did decades ago. But no, I've never seen any memes of myself.
What? Give me a freaking break, dude.
Do you have any spit jokes?
Do I have any spit facts?
Yeah.
No, I'm a known purveyor of saliva knowledge. I didn't choose that job, but it's one I accept. It is something that I'm a
Ian,
big
do me a
fan
favor,
of.
or Dan, link me some Vsauce memes. Let's do a meme review right now.
The thing about memes, of course, is that, like, at what point... I'd love to hear... This is me asking you a question.
Okay.
Like, do you respond to memes others have created about you? Or are you ever afraid that, like, if you acknowledge it, it loses its power?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, first of all, yeah, I feel I definitely see what you mean. Because once you acknowledge it, then the magic is lost.
Right, because it needs to belong to everyone but you.
Right. You don't want to be in on the joke.
Exactly.
Or you, right. Yeah, no, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
But I think this is, like, we can review memes of you. It's fair. It doesn't kill it.
Meme review.
It doesn't kill it because I'm the one that's pushing it.
Yeah, you're in the driver's seat.
Yeah, I'm in the driver's seat. You're not like, let's look at these great memes of me. That would kill it. There's all these great Vsauce memes.
Check this out. Yeah, exactly.
Because you can embrace the meme. Sometimes you can over-embrace a meme.
Yeah,
you embrace it so hard, you strangle it.
DJ
Khaled embraced the meme. He strangled the meme.
Yeah, and there's a right and a wrong way to embrace it so that it grows and continues to be a source of creativity.
You want to foster
and
the meme. You're afraid of killing it. You like in other words, you like being a living meme. You respect it, clearly.
I respect the creativity that comes from...
We're getting lots. 1,000 degree chainsaw versus 1-year-old infant I found gone wrong. What the hell is this?
I don't understand. That's just a video I made. That's not like an edit.
Wait, your channel's called Rapey Dan the Science Man. What the fuck? Come on, guys. What was that?
There's also, there's obviously the, like, inappropriateness of them, which is where the comedy comes from.
Circumcising random boys at the park?
Yeah.
Oy vey sauce.
What?
All right, let's move on. Let's move on quick.
Did you make those?
No.
Ian may have just cooked those up in the back real fast.
Slapped them together.
All right.
There are some that are not so offensive.
Yeah.
But the kind of, edginess of them, right? Like, that's part of the whole comedy.
施錠をしたとはいえ、こんな古い木の扉なんて簡単に破られるだろうな。
I'm very interested to see where this goes, Ian.
Hey, Vsauce. Michael here.
You're a titan, dude. Are you familiar with this show?
Dull and Dark?
Or
this particular
Attack on Titan?
Here? No, I'm not.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, this is a Dull and Dark video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ここなのか。
that was powerful.
So look at this creativity. Look at this
Right.
skill.
You inspired that video.
I can't edit that well.
Yeah.
Right? And when I was first doing YouTube videos, I was taking politicians and I was trying to do effects like that, you know, get them involved in shows, make it look like they said things they hadn't said, and that is a phenomenal power that people haven't had for a long time. It used to be that if you wanted to see a public figure or a movie warped to mean something else, you had to see it on Letterman or something like that. No one else had those tools. But now, with editing software and the internet, everyone
Clearly,
can take
the
control.
Unabomber hadn't foreseen meme economy. Otherwise, he would have not written that
He's
book.
still alive. I wonder if he's aware
Oh,
of
is he?
the meme
I didn't know
economy,
that. Well,
the
maybe-
meme culture.
Yeah.
And the power that people now have to take that culture and make it their own.
Right.
Some of the first videos I made were that. I made one called Ferris the 13th, and I took Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I used the voiceover for a Friday the 13th trailer. So it made a comedy look like a horror film. And it's easy to forget what it was like back in 2008, 2007 to make something like that because no gatekeepers allowed you to do that. You just did it. And before, you had to be a Hollywood executive to make something like that. You had to have money and resources and editors.
What a day and age we live in.
Yeah.
By the way, subscribe to Dull and Dark.
Subscribe to
Yeah.
Dull and Dark.
I feel like in this day and age, I don't know, maybe it's already a thing, but I've been feeling the desire for a form of therapy to start taking classes of like working with wood and building stuff.
That's a form of therapy.
Yeah.
That's kind of brilliant.
Because
Yeah,
I
totally.
actually did some sculpture classes when I went to art school. And it's really fun when you can just like drill a hole in a piece of wood and
That's
put two
fucking
pieces
brilliant,
together
dude.
and
That's-
actually like build a shelf all of a sudden
Yeah.
and it's a functioning object.
It goes back to what we were saying of doing something like meaningful with your hands and
Yeah.
your body.
Yeah,
instead of-
with physical objects.
Yeah.
I find some of that in puzzles, in solving puzzles and in using construction toys to make geometric figures and stuff. And you kind of realize, wow, I haven't looked at a screen. I haven't
Yeah.
been a part of the technological
Right.
world.
That's a really great idea. I actually think there's something to that.
Yeah.
I mean, things you can do even without any technology, like not wood, stone, tools, but just your own body, like yoga
Mhm.
or calisthenics, I guess. Like those kinds of things that force you to be alone with just the body are phenomenal.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, let's. Last time we had you on, we didn't do this thing. We do this now with all of our guests. It's a very interesting thing. Our fans love it. So I'm going to leave you with this one question here. Do you have any interesting ghost stories, paranormal experiences, alien encounters? And it's fine if you don't. It's completely fine. I don't have any. But it's just turned into the segment. It's just a little thing.
Ghost stories.
Yeah.
I have none.
Yeah, okay. That's fair enough.
I'm just
That's perfectly fine. People feel bad.
When they don't have a good ghost
don't
story?
feel bad.
I don't have any. But sometimes, you get surprised.
I mean, as you can imagine.
That's what I expected. Though.
Like, I'm not the kind of person who's going to go ghosts. I'm going to say, oh, interesting. I mean, how could something be right next to me but not here?
So-
Could be in a fourth spatial dimension, right?
Right.
And that's what people at the turn of the century in the 1900s were really obsessed with. They were like, where the heck is heaven?
Right.
Because we're starting to feel like we can't fly there. Maybe it's right next to us in the way that on a sheet of paper, something can live on that surface and only be 2D, but something can be right above it and look inside of it and know what's inside of it.
Right.
What if that is where these spirits and ghosts are? And
well,
It's
when
like
people
the Day of the Dead in Coco, if you've seen the movie.
Right. That was a great movie, by the
Yeah.
way. But it's like, I mean, I would love to have an experience, but I share the same sentiment as you. Sometimes people have experiences so strong That you can be a completely rational, scientific person, and you're like, yeah, I believe in ghosts. So
and that kind of experience is very real.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think you saw a ghost, you thought you did.
Yeah.
That's and there are things we don't know still.
Sure.
If we could discover in 100 years that like, oh no, when you die, you enter a different spatial dimension and you're still there and you can be around all of us, but we can't see you because we don't have eyes that point anywhere but in these three, right? Sure. Will we ever be able to design an experiment that proves that? Will we find evidence of it? I don't know. But
so in short, no ghost stories.
No ghost stories.
Okay, fair enough.
No ghost stories.
I'm waiting for the day I have a ghost story. The closest I've had is that a moth shit on my wall, and I thought it was blood, but it was just shit.
Spooky.
I was like, Hila, there's fucking blood running down our wall. And this was right after we started the ghost stories thing, and I was like, hold on. I'm like, that's more brown than red. And then I was like, oh, there's a giant moth just shit on our wall. I was scared for a moment.
Moth blood is not brown.
What
if their blood is brown and their poop is red, and it was blood?
Moth blood. Ghost blood.
But that's not as scary as what you would think.
I love scary movies. I love, like The Conjuring, the kind of like spiritual Ouija board sort of stuff. Because
then you love Lance Stewart. Sorry, that was stupid.
It's a big part of our minds create these stories, and that's very significant. I think what's more scary is what we can convince ourselves of, than what's real.
Mm-hmm.
May I suggest a movie to you that we watched recently? I generally don't like spooky films because I'm easily spooked.
You're easily spooked.
But there was a movie, Creep.
Haven't heard of it.
Oh my god, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's like it's not like corny. What I don't like is graphic violence.
What about jump scares?
I genuinely don't like jump scares. I don't like
too.
I guess what I like more is just suspense.
Right.
I think that's the difference of a good movie and just like a corny, like very gory. But this straddled the perfect line between being spooky and suspenseful.
Creep.
Yeah, Creep.
There's no violence. There's some jump scares.
It was so simply made too. That I really enjoyed that. It felt like
it's on Netflix. Okay, cool.
It's very good.
All of October, I made my wife watch scary movies every day. I called it Spooktober. She hated it, but we wanted suspense, and we found ourselves actually moving away from horror into the suspense section because we wanted that like Get Out. Right, phenomenal.
Right,
yeah.
Get Out.
That was amazing.
Because Get Out was more of just a good film than it was like, oh, this is a scary film.
Yeah, it wasn't like you just jumped out of your seat, and also look at this gore. It was more like what?
Yeah,
what's the Stephen King book? They made a movie out of it about an author who is in a car accident. I want to say Mercy.
It's a recent one or it's a classic?
It's not recent, but it's another one of those like unsettling
Misery.
Not Mercy, Misery. So good.
Oh, we should watch that, Hila.
Yeah.
Oh, you totally should. Yeah. It's just off kilter from reality.
Well, what are your?
It was great because it was kind of funny.
Yeah. So it was.
I found that most good horror films, there's an strong element of comedy and absurdity and cheekiness to it.
Yeah.
Because you can't take yourself too seriously when dealing with these kind of issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Stephen King.
By the way, there was a child orgy in that book. I don't know if you know that.
I know that because after I saw the movie, I read the book.
Yep.
And
how'd you feel about that? Because I've only read about that scene.
But
I haven't read it.
You haven't read the whole book.
So I'm curious, what was your reaction to it?
Okay, well, first of all, the book shows you why books and movies are different and deserve to be treated differently.
The book is a big boy,
when
right?
someone says like, yeah, but did you read the book?
Yeah.
I know that's annoying, but books are so different because they allow you to really get inside someone's head for pages, for hours, for days.
Right.
But in a movie, you kind of got to like get it over with, and like recollections people have in a movie have to be done with like recreated scenes, but with this book you really get into the dark parts of people's minds. It cannot translate to a screen.
Sure.
Anyway, when I started to get to that part of the book, they kind of hint at it before it really happens, and I immediately like had to read like what critics have said about why the heck that's in the book, because Stephen King himself says, well, it represents this transition from childhood to adulthood, this connection. But of course, the hallway connecting the children's library and the adult library also represented that? Why did you also have to have this really
very graphic? It's like a gangbang on this one girl. As I read about, because right,
that's exactly what it is.
Well, it's just
yeah. I mean, it's her idea. But it
not
completely
rape.
goes against her character arc. Like she's supposed to. All the characters become free in a way, right? Like, oh, you mean my medicine is just a placebo? You know, like those are these big revelations, and you feel like the girl gets there too. But then there's that scene, and you're like, what?
I was reading about a lot of people were just like he was on a drug fueled. He was just doing like lines of cocaine during that whole period and was just yacked out and wrote it. But still, how do you leave that? He's got an editor, I assume. Didn't seem central to the story.
I also bought his book on writing. I haven't read it yet, but I was really like, I got to know more about. Because that scene aside, the book is Salem's Lot. I read as a kid, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I did a whole episode on what is creepiness, why are things creepy, and you know his idea of creepiness is a big part of the episode. So anyway, but yeah, oh man, that's weird. And there are troubling things in the book too, involving animals being harmed. That it's just a different kind of. It's not horror like whoa, spooky clown. It's horror like why are we capable of that?
Yeah. Well, the question is about that scene in particular too. Was like, was it necessary to be in the book, or is this just a sick, weird thing he did to like fuck with the reader? Or maybe that's valid too. I don't know.
He did a lot of stuff
for sure
to mess with the reader. I mean, he has responded to this, and I think he said that if he did it again, he wouldn't include that scene.
Oh, he did say that because I thought he was defending that.
Well, as far as I know, his defense was, I can't believe that people are upset by this and not like the actual violence and whatever,
Right.
But still, it was a weird. Because what I love about the book is that it's about belief. If you believe that the clown is real, it is. If you believe that you can destroy it, you can. And there's this great analogy he makes to like, look, it took a lot of people to create the myth of the vampire, but someone created the myth of the wooden stake. And in the book, right, the kids think that the medicine is acidic and it's going to destroy the clown, and it does hurt them. But once they become adults and they don't believe these things anymore, they have to find new solutions. You have to believe you can destroy it to destroy it. And I had never seen a horror story that focused on that aspect. So, yeah, but that scene, it was weird too, because it was like, if we do this, we will learn how to get out of the sewers. It was like, I don't see the connection.
Right,
what the heck?
Right. And they got out.
Yeah. It was literally like after that scene, they're like, oh, cool, you just take a ride over there.
That is a weird one.
Isn't it weird?
It's probably also the matter of the time when he wrote the book. I guess those stuff, like today, it seems really strange, but maybe back then.
No, you're right.
I don't know.
Things,
When was it? The 80s?
I don't know, actually.
Probably the 80s.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's a great note to end on.
We got the Unabomber.
Listen, Unabomber's manifesto. We need a new chapter for memes, but in that book. But in 1986, according to Ian, was written.
86, the year I was born.
Yeah, if you want to find your way out of a maze, you have a child orgy.
Oh,
that's the moral of the book?
No, it's not.
Okay, well, stew on that. All right. Well, thanks guys for watching. Dan was just saying let's end on Shredder Camp. I think that's a great idea. Please go watch season 2 of Minefield. Support Michael in any way you can. Go to Brain Candy, pick up some tickets. Anything to supplement to that?
Subscribe to H3H3.
Oh,
be sure to tune in next time to the H3 podcast. You guys are on a We are time.
We are on a different time.
So don't forget, everyone out there.
Thank you.
Of course. Follow Ethan and Gila on
Keep going, man.
Twitter.
I love it.
Buy the fashions that have been created. Congrats on that. Awesome
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thanks for having it. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
We got a little weird. We got a little wild.
Got a little deep.
We went there. We got a little deep. We came back.
Got a little scared.
And then we did a couple spooks, a couple childhood orgies, a couple the Unabomber. He blew up the apartment building, right?
No, he just mailed pipe bombs to people.
Oh, that was who was the guy who blew up the apartment building? Jonathan McVeigh. Who was that?
Timothy McVeigh.
Timothy.
The Oklahoma City,
that's the guy
federal building.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder what he thought about names.
There's a documentary on him, and if you watch that, it's on Netflix. It's fantastic. You should also watch the one on Ruby Ridge, because he was responding to Ruby Ridge. He was responding to the government and its power over people, and it is so relevant today. I mean, it's the same world. History, man.
Gosh,
it's important stuff.
Let's get on Mars and start recording data.
Yeah, in Michael Stevens Park.
All right.
On Mars.
Yeah, calling it now. Guys, thank you so much for watching. As Michael was gracious enough to say, we are going to be live next week on Wednesday with Player Unknown. Very excited about that, so please join us then. Until then, my friends, I wish you adieu. And with that, I say adieu. Hold to Shredder Cam.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll see you guys next time. Ta-ta.